name is Minsta Rebel. Inside the studio, alongside, if I might say so myself, a master teacher in the flesh. And Breeze Man in the phones in the back. Yeah. Okay. Like I said, it's about setting the record straight. Tonight's show is about creation. Grab your pens and pieces of papers. I hope you got your questions ready. If you haven't got any ready, write them down as we go along. Okay, we're going to do a little quick introduction and break down the creation story, and then I'll be asking a few questions myself, and then we'll open up the phone lines afterwards. So, Amatif, I'd like you to introduce yourself.
Greetings to the whole of London on this warm evening. I'm Imhotep Jed, a representative of the ancient Egyptian order. Thank Minsta Rebel for again inviting me into the studio. Thank you very much, Tawaha. I greet everybody with the words Rahubat, which is, greetings in our ancient language called Nuwaubian. Hotep, peace. I love you all.
Okay. Yeah. Basically, tonight's show definitely needed to be done because one of the things that fascinated me, like growing up and looking around, and one of the things I really wanted to know while on the earth is how did it come about and why are we here? And tonight I hope that we'll clear off that for you. First question of creation, okay, is let's take it from where we are now, right here on the earth, right now. How did it happen?
You see, first and foremost, when most people talk about creation or the beginning, you have to identify what creation or what beginning you're talking about. Because you could be talking about the beginning of life, your life. Therefore, if you're talking about your life, per se, your creator would be your personal creator, which would be your mother and father. Or you could be talking about the creation of, let's say, the earth. That's a different creation. Or are you talking about the creation of the solar system? Or let's say the galaxy or the universe, because there are many creations. So when you say creation, the first statement that I would have to make is, what creation? Because you said life. So are you starting at the point of gestation?
Okay. What I'm going to try and do is, on behalf of all of us, is to pinpoint you into exactly what I'm saying. Us right here on the planet Earth right now, okay, as it is, and us here right now, in accordance to what, we know. I mean, our existence here on the Earth right now.
Okay. Basically, most people are under the illusion, especially when you talk about creation here and now, based upon a story, the Adamah story, or the story coming from Genesis. When you look at the word Genesis, you see the genes of Isis. That is giving you some form of symbolic meaning, but we'll address that later on. If you're talking about the creation of man, then we'd have to go into the reality of the creation of different beings before man. Because if we're talking biblically, the word Genesis is predated by the word Barashith. This is in your Bible. When you look at the word Barashith, it actually means to reconstruct. So therefore, if it's a reconstruction, then that is not the beginning, or that is not creation at the starting point. Because when you use the term in the beginning, you've actually stated that you are in the beginning. You're in it. You're not at the beginning. Do you understand where I'm going? So therefore, we have to differentiate where we're going and where we're coming from. If we're talking biblically, we know for a fact that the creation of man called Adam and the creation of Eve could not have been about the first people on the planet. Quite simplistically speaking, if you read the Bible, it makes statements like refill and replenish. So therefore, the refill and the replenishing would be the second time. So therefore, now we've identified the link to the word Barashith, reconstruction. That was a creation stage that came after many creations. When you're talking about the Bible, it states, in the beginning, as I read it to you, Genesis 1, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Now, when it says in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, remember, we're talking about a reconstruction. This reconstruction took place 2,250,000 years ago after a meteorite shower. This is not talking about the original creation of earth. Because when you talk about earth, in actuality, earth only goes back to a certain point, and it was named Tiamat, the maiden of life, millions, dare I say, billions of years before the name earth even came to be a reality.
Okay, so let's take it from the point of where most people know in England right now is the Bible, okay? Somewhere we didn't want to go, but let's go right there. Okay, all right, so at the point of making Adam and Eve, what is taking place there, and where did that story really come from, and could we have the proper breakdown of it?
You see, that's a very good and interesting question. When we talk about Adam and Eve, the reason why the Supreme Grand Master, our Supreme Grand Master, Aferti Atumre, walked us through the schools of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism is so that we would know the reality of these stories. You see, once you go through Islam, which goes back 1,400 years, once you go through Christianity, which goes back 2,000 years, once you go to Judaism, which they say goes back 4,000 years, if you study Judaic writings and teaching, you have to come to the point of acknowledgement that the Jews, whichever term you want to use, Jews or Hebrews or the people who follow Judaism, that at one point or at a certain point in time, they actually dwelled in ancient, what is known as Babylon. To put it simplistic, Sumeria. Now, if they dwelt in Sumeria, therefore there had to have been some form of contact and communication with the Sumerians and acknowledgement of their culture. That's why when you read the Torah, which only goes back to a certain time, you'll find that the Torah in actuality is coming from ancient tablets, i.e. the Enuma Elish, the Gilgamesh epics, the Atrahasis, the tablets of Adafa, the tablets of Nergal and Orishkigal, and the descent of Tammuz and Ishtar. Now, once you understand that reality, and you identify that you're talking about ancient tablets which talk about beings that came here. Beings that came here and done many different projects, seeding the planet, and also genetically breeding beings here on the planet. It opens a whole new ball game, because the Torah tells you in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. English. We know that when you use the term God, in Hebrew it says Elohim. Now remember, the writings were grafted from the ancients. So therefore, once you reach Elohim, the door has opened to the Anunnaki. These beings called the Anunnaki, when they came from where they came from, which we'll identify later as we speak, they were called the Anutu. These were beings that were scientists. Not only were they scientists, they were alchemists, biochemists, astrophysicists. We are talking about highly intellectual beings. Are you with me? Then once you reach Sumer, you realize that the Sumerians also took their stories from more ancient writings, coming from what we call Tamaray. Most people call it Egypt, but we'll identify that much later on. Ancient Egypt. And you find that on the walls, written in the temples of the pyramids, you will find about these beings that came from many different star constellations and did many different projects. To name a few of the projects, you had the Nun project, you had the Adama project, you had the Rainbow project, and then you had the Dolphin project. These were scientific projects that were done by these beings. So now when we go to Adam, knowing that Adam refilled, replenished the planet, you identified that there were people before Adam and that there were tribes before Adam, because Adam and Eve were two beings, selected beings, that were bred from a group of people or beings, namely Adam from the Watuzes and Eve from the Tarhites. These were two tribes that existed millions of years ago, not thousands.
So, okay, if I could gather correctly, the beings called Elohim are the Anunnaki in the Sumerian tablets. They are responsible for making this Adam and Eve, and the story stolen and put in your Bible, and King James basically called it Elohim God.
That's right.
Okay.
Basically what you're saying is you're talking about the Bible just being a watered down version of ancient tablets and writings. That's all the Bible is. And many people read the Bible, they get fixed up and locked into a book, not realizing that the book is based on a lot of symbolic writings, and also writings that are intentionally mistranslated to keep people locked in a box mentality, worshiping God or Jesus.
So basically, the Anunnaki, which the Sumerians called them, were the Neteru in ancient Tamaray. And is that the same Tamarayan culture that was based on Mars first? That came here because, you know, there's pyramids on Mars and faces on Mars and etc. And also down in South America, across America and China and the rest of the world, is the same knowledge and beings that were doing that?
That's a very good question, because when you say are they the same beings, you have to identify, understand this, comprehend this. When you talk about the Neteru are a different race of beings from the Anunnaki. When you mention Neteru, where you get the word nature from, these are your prime creators. These beings came from a planet called Sibtu in Sirius or Cyrus. When you talk about the Anunnaki, remember Anunnaki, those beings that Anu sent down to Earth in 50s, these beings came from Ris in the 19th galaxy called Ilion. That was another race of beings that was involved in the experiments. You also had a group of beings called the Ogdoads. These were your sea creatures who revoluted, not evoluted, from Sibtu and also lived in the seas on this planet. And then you had the Elul. The first three manifested physically. The Elul did not manifest physically. When you're talking about the face on Mars, just to go there for a little second, or a minute or two, the face on Mars was a project to identify the creation of Homo erectus to Homo sapien. That's why the face on Mars, when you see any pictures of Zakar, who is really Cadman, you see that the picture perfectly superimposes upon that particular image on Mars. It's because it was a marking point for different extraterrestrial beings to identify the project called the Adama Project. So when you're talking about these different markings and sightings around the world in South America, some under the Mayas, that's where you're going, right? The Olmecs. But let's identify this. The beings that came here are not only the Neteru, the Anunnaki, the Ogdoads. Do you understand? Really, we're talking about many different types of beings that came in at different points of time. You have to identify and realize that you also had beings called Sing.
So basically, you're saying that it's an intergalactical thing and there's beings all over the solar system and the universe. Is that what you're trying to say? We're not the only life on the planet, and these beings that were called angels, gods, and worshipped are just different species of beings that exist in the universe?
You have, when you talk about the word, look at the word Elohim. Elohim means these beings, those beings, agreeable and disagreeable. It doesn't identify what beings you're talking about. We were created in the image and the likeness of, so to speak, whose image and likeness? Which God? Because there was many gods. Let's not just say, oh, the Neteru, it's only the Neteru who were gods, or only the Anunnaki. You had Hindu beings from the star constellation Procyon, the planet Nirvana, who were also gods to their descendants. You had beings from the star constellation Andromeda, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white Ashtar Federation beings, who then resided in Pleiades. They have their descendants. So therefore, what we're actually saying is, which beings are we talking about? Because oftentimes when you look in South America, the link is not just to our ancestors. There's many ancestors. You have the Hindus, you have the Neteru, you have the Anunnaki. Are you with me? You have the Ogdoads, you have reptilians. 16 different species, 70 different species of grays. So you have many different beings that, come on, let's be for real. We circulate the sun. Simple. Now we circulate the sun, and the key to life is bacteria which dwells in water. That means when we evoluted, which is really revoluted, from the seas through the genetic experiment, that means that there would have to be many different life forms on different planets based upon the simple fact that we circulate the sun within our solar system, which is one sun within the galaxy, and within the galaxy you have billions of stars being born and dying all the time. The galaxy is amongst 19 galaxies within a universe of universes. So how can we be so stupid and egotistical as to think that we are the only beings that exist in the expanse of the universe? That would be very, very egotistical. How many fish in the sea can we name? How many breeds of dogs can we name? There is as many and more beings in the expanse of the solar galaxy and universes.
Okay, so I can get you down to a point now. When we're talking about this being Adam and Eve, or Zakar and Hawa, okay, or Cadman, okay, when you're talking about those beings, the Adam and Eve, and you mentioned one was from the Pygmy tribe and the Watusi tribe, their origins, how did they come into existence? I mean, the Watusi, the Pygmy, and also the Hindus.
Okay. When you're actually talking about the Watusis, the Watusi are the Kuthites. These are your mixed seed of Hindu beings that came down from the planet Nirvana in the Procyon star constellation. These beings came down and mixed, raped the Tarhites that existed in the blue and white Nile Valley region. Understood? So therefore, when you're talking about the Watusi, that is a mixed breed of Hindu and Tarhite. Do you understand? That's where you get your Zakar. You understand? Who was bred, because we're talking about a breeding. Remember, the story in the Bible talks and states that the rib of Adam was taken, snapped, and then all of a sudden a woman was created, which would mean that we should have, one less rib. We're not going to go there today. In reality, we have the same amount of ribs, but in truth, what you're talking about is an experiment of the blood being taken out of this being called Cadman. The blood taken out of his bone marrow and genetically spliced into the mother of Eve. Now, when we're talking about the mother of Eve, you have Tar and Anath. Remember, this is a breeding process. To go into the whole breeding process, you have to understand and analyze the beings that were here on the planet. The original Tarhites were genetically created here from different species of beings that were already here on the planet. Do you understand where I'm going? Remember, if you go back to the ancient Sumerian tablets and you read them clearly, after the collapsing of the planet, the ozone layer on risk, the collapse of the, you understand? When that collapsed, they needed gold to actually replenish that ozone layer. And that led to many trips to this planet, which is, at the time was called Tiamat. To keep a long story and cut it short, when they actually came to this planet after many collisions, because they used to come to this planet looking for uranium, gold, chlorophyll, chlorine, etc., etc., they had many, many routes that Nibiru took to reach this planet. They had an orbit which they called an arm, which was 25,920 years. On one of the trips, this is what we're going to lead right to the creation of this Earth at the point. Remember, at that point in time, in actuality, it was called Tiamat. On one of the trips, Nibiru, the planetoid craft, after leaving Risk, remember Risk resides where? In Ilion, the 19th galaxy. On one of the trips, Nibiru came into our solar system, and in trying to avoid the planet Uranus, which was called Anu, in trying to avoid that planet, it got caught up into the electrical storms of what is known as Neptune. Do you understand? And by getting caught up in the electrical storms, it got thrown into the pathway of a planet called Meldic. Now, for those people who know about Meldic, the Meldikians were reptilian beings. obviously have, you know, agreeable and disagreeable, as we know. When Nibiru came and kissed the electromagnetic fields around Nibiru, kissed off of Meldic and destroyed Meldic. Meldic, parts of it became part of the Zeta Reticuli star constellation. It became known as the Lost Planet. But before that, Meldic actually sent off 4 crafts. And these 4 crafts were immobilized by Nibiru in its force field. So now Nibiru is now heading toward Tiamat. Remember, Nibiru at the time was 4 to 4.5 times the size of Earth as we know it now. But remember, it wasn't Earth at the time, it was actually Tiamat, the maiden of life, a water planet. So Nibiru is heading straight for Tiamat. Keep it neat and sweet. The beings on Tiamat sent out 11 crafts. They were totally immobilized. And Nibiru came into the hemisphere of Tiamat with these 4 winds trapped and locked into its force field. The north wind hit Tiamat, split it in half, hit the upper half, which created the asteroid belt. Are you with me? Then we had the east wind, which came in, made a hole in the middle of the section that was left. Are you with me? In the middle of Tiamat, remember the planet? Okay. And then we had the west wind, which crashed into the seas and then into the middle of the planet, which created that inner sun. And then you had the south wind, which carved out what is called as the Grand Canyon. All of these incidences left these beings called the Anunnaki. Remember, Anu's beings were sent down to Earth in 50s in a state of turmoil insofar as they felt that they, you know, had to bear the responsibility of this. But remember, initially, they were looking for gold. And they were trying to breed beings to mine the gold, because the Anunnaki themselves, because of this hierarchy system, and because of the way they were, you know, they felt, you know, they were a bit lazy to do the work. So they wanted to find a being that was already here on the planet. And one of the beings that were already here on the planet was the shaggy being that they bred. Do you understand? And they used the genes of that particular type of being to mine the mind and the gold. But remember, that is just one experiment, because when you're talking about the Tahites in actuality were beings that were bred from the gene of the Laris, the gibbon, and the chimpanzee. Why man would say that man comes from monkey? No, it was the cells that was utilized of these particular beings. You say animals. When you talk about the Laris, it's not the type of monkey that you're thinking about. These were very spiritual beings that were intellectual. You understand? Because we have a habit of judging things based upon what we've been presented. So when you're talking about the Tahites, in actuality, the Tahite evolutionary process is from these beings. At that time, they were called the homins. That's your Tahite. You understand? Your Watusi, as I said earlier, is the rape of the Tahites by these beings from Nirvana. These Hindu beings that resided on the planet Nevada 76 billion years ago. Where did these beings come from? Initially, these beings, these Hindu beings, initially they were amongst the Anunnaki on Risk. But remember, the reason why Risk was attacked was because there was a being called Tarnush, who was a reptilian being who wanted to control not just Risk and Ilion, but he wanted to control most of the galaxies and the constellations of the universe. He was already in control of Bellatrix, Regal, are you with me, and Betelgeuse. And he also wanted to take control of the planet Risk, which had 3 continents.
So that was a lot there, but I'm going to take you back to now. You said Ta and Anaf and Atum and Lilith was the mother and father of Cadmus and the Cable, yeah?
When you talk about Ta and Anath, remember, they were the Tahites. Ta and Anath was the mother and father of Nekabo. When you're talking about Zakar, the parents of Zakar was Atum and Lilith.
So now, those Atum and Lilith, okay, that was the rape of the pygmy by the Hindu.
That's right.
Okay. Where did the Hindus originate from?
The Hindus, as I said, these were beings. When we're talking about Tanush and the attacking of this planet, Horus, as written in the Sumerian writing, these beings were cast out. Remember, they were cast out of the heavens. If you go to the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 9, it always talks about this war between Michael, one who dares to be like El, and these dragons who were just cast down. But that's just a synopsis of a much larger story. You're talking about a third of the beings being cast out with Tanush. And then later on his son, Halal. Remember, you had the 200 fallen demonic beings. These beings resided on Nirvana 76 billion years ago. Then they lived on Kingu, which was the moon. You understand? 66 billion before they came to Earth. And they resided in a place called Nod, from Nudimud, Enki, because Enki was mixing, you know, certain philosophies and ideologies with these beings. He started to acknowledge these, you know, the beings' way of life, their religion.
All right, now I'm gonna. Now you've covered most of the background behind Adam and Eve as the appearance, and that means Adam and Eve did have parents. You know, check it out for yourself. Now where we want to go is before the physical manifestation. Okay. Okay. We're going to go before anything was manifested. What happened to make things come into being?
Minsta Rebel wants me to go into things before the, and there's much more to the Zakar.
Yes.
Because you're talking about a genetic experiment which involved Geshtu, Ninti, and there's, well, we can go there if time permits. When you're talking about what existed before, are you talking about physical creation? Remember, anything that has a physical side has to have a spiritual side. Scientifically, matter and antimatter. And it's very interesting that you brought up that point insofar as when you read the book of Genesis, the Bible, and it talks about, it doesn't make mention of where, you know, the Elohim, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. Where did they come from? Where did this God come from? Because you're literally talking about beings. The Bible even tells you that, you know, we're talking about beings. Elohim is those beings. So therefore, if you're dealing with beings, they would be physical. That's why in Isaiah 7:20, just to give a, you know, some reference point, you find that the Lord shaved with what? A razor. A spirit. How's he going to shave? You know? Yeah. You understand? Genesis 18:21, it tells you that God had to come down here to find out. Why would you need to find out if you're, you see? That's right. You know, we could go on and on with biblical references that identify a physical being, which would be a reality, because remember, when you go back to the ancient writing on the ancient tablets, you will read that these were just that, beings. But these were beings that didn't just appear from nowhere. These were beings that, if you read the Bible, Genesis 11:5, it says that these beings came from where? From heaven. Now, in the Greek language, we know, and most of the listeners should know, that when you're talking about heaven in Greek, it's Uranus, and Uranus is Orion, and Orion is a galaxy. In the Hebrew, it tells you Shamayim. Shamayim, in Arabic, Samawati, which means up there, firmaments, clouds, or space, a place, not a fictitious, you know, all over the place type of. So we're talking about constellations and beings. Because when you go to Job 9:9, what do you read? There you go. There you go. Again, talking about constellations. These are recorded within the Bible. And remember, the Bible is taken from ancient tablets. So we're literally talking about beings that came here to this planet. Literal physical beings. But then there's something very interesting. Very interesting when you go into the ancient writings or the sacred records of Atumre. Now, what I find very interesting about that is that there's a story about the chaotic waters, the Big Bang. The chaotic waters being the 777,777 sperms that most of us should ejaculate when we're making love. And you know when you're making love, you know that. Pow. The Big Bang connection, the race, where you beat all of those sperm. In reality, most of us don't really produce 777. Some of us probably about 10 sperm due to the bad diet and cream cakes and what have you. But all the same, we reached here because we are here. Now, when you go to the sacred records of Atum Re, it talks about the being Atum being fed up and birthing himself through the chaotic waters, coming from darkness unto darkness, coming from a state which we call triple darkness, which is really pre-existence, which is really antimatter. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, the reason why I find that interesting is because Atum, Amun, and Atun, these are geneticists. 3 geneticists recorded in ancient Tamaray. Now, when you go to the Bible, for those who want to look at the Bible, when you go to Revelation 3, verse 14, it's interesting. Have a read for yourself, Mr. Rebel. I know you're a man who likes the Bible.
Yeah, I know the quote.
Okay, what does it actually say? But he has to say thus, because he wants to sound Shakespearean.
That's what he said.
Thus. These things, but you know he's a Shakespeare. These things saith the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the beginning of the creation of God. Now it's very interesting to understand that when you identify the word Amen, Amen means faithful. But the word Amen comes from ancient Tamaray, ancient Egypt. Is coming from ancient Egypt. But here it says that Amen witnessed the creation of God. When you go to Genesis, it says, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. So if God created the heaven and the earth and Amen witnessed, then who came first? The Amen. This is because when you're talking about pre-existence, the realms of no thing and something, you have to understand this, that when you say something, something means some, S-U-M, the ability to weigh and scale. So when you're saying something, S-U-M, you're talking about hydrogen, which is the first atom. At one point it was identified as the lightest atom. So when we say hydrogen, which then led to helium, lithium, beryllium, carbon, boron, do you understand? Going to fluorine, then Einsteinium being 99, etc., etc. Right, that's all dealing with physicality. But now we are talking about pre-physicality, because Amen, Atum, Amun witnessed. So these were witnesses.
So there you're talking about a triad of deities, not just Amen as one being, you're talking about Atun, Atum, and Amun.
A triad of deities, because when you identify that when you're dealing with Atum, Atun, and Amun, these were geneticists. And not only were they geneticists, you find that they're symbolically written in the Bible, in the Jesus story. If we can go there later, we will go there. But right now we need to clarify the chaotic waters of Atum being born and being birthed through the chaotic waters of Nun and Nunet. This is your semen process. When you make love, you have sex. When you do the action, remember, the sperm goes from the testicles, up the urethral glands, up the spine, past the medulla oblongata, and goes to the point of the pineal gland, and is charged by a light force or soul force or spirit force, whatever you want to say, and then it comes back down the spine. Sex. That's right, mating. And then from Nun and Nunet, Atum was birthed physically. So you're basically talking about what is called the Nun project. That was a project of Atum coming from darkness, pre-hydrogen, helium, and lithium, beryllium, so on and so forth. Pre-physical, from a state of no thing. Because at one time, scientists, as some of you may know, they classified hydrogen as the lightest atom. But in actuality, we know that the atom is made of what? Protons, electrons, neutrons, and the neutrons and protons, you split, you get the quarks. top, down, you understand? Up, bottom, charm, and strange. Those are titles that are given to these quarks that make up protons and neutrons, and then when you split the quark, you go into bias, and then you go into what is called zillions, which really in actuality does not really exist in this state of universe, which is too cold for that. But then, you know, there's a form of heat that you can use, just like the scientists use to heat up solid, liquid, and gas and create a next level or a next state called plasma, which is above gas, which is really going into what is called ultra gaseous matter, which are divisions within yourself. Because when you go into ultra gaseous matter, it's identified like this: you are solid, you are liquid, you are gas, and then you have the other degrees within yourself of electric ether, light ether, and mental reflective, because now you're touching into the realms of other existence. If I slapped you and chopped you to pieces, your soul or your boss self, the spirit self, the car, you couldn't see it. Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It's just gone are you with me? Pre-physical. And this is the state that those forces dwelt in. Because when we talk about the forces, now we've opened the gate to the creative forces of the universe. And oftentimes people hear about the nine ether forces, which became the nine ether being. These were the creative forces of the universe. The sacred records of Atum Re will give you the triad forces of Huhi, Hika, and Sia.
So basically, when you're talking about the triad of deities manifesting, and you know they got this word, atom. So you basically, is that what you're calling atom?
That's right, because when you use the term atom, remember atom becomes what? First point, hydrogen, atom. It's not a coincidence that also Adam becomes what? Guess what? The first man. We know he's not, but they say he's the first man because it's phonetics. Adam, atom, which is all coming from atom. But when we say atom of ancient Tamare, we are not talking about Atum and Lilith, the mother and father. That's right. That's a totally different atom. So that's the birthing through the chaotic waters, because the chaotic waters is the sperm gushing forth into the womb out of darkness, triple darkness, because remember hydrogen and helium is light, out of the state of triple darkness into the darkness of the womb, man.
So that is like, okay, the creation of the beings, or the manifestation of the beings. Now, the physical, like matter, like as in soul, as in the first sun, and etc. How did the physical matter actually come into existence?
When you're talking about soul, you've actually opened the doorway to Sal. When you say Sal, remember Sal was a planet going 76 trillion years ago, which was a planet surrounded by 19 planets, one being Om. When this planet Sal, when you say planet, planet also identifies stars. The stars and planets depend on the combination of chemicals and the chemical reaction that determines whether it's a planet or a star. This collapsing of Sal and the gravitational pull on these 19 planets made Sal blow these 19 planets into space and beyond. Then these 19 planets then exploded again, because you're talking about a continuum. This continuum, one of the planets being Om, blew up again, and this led to the sun that we have in our solar system called Shamash or Afsu. This sun again blew up and created the planets that we have now in our solar system, the 10. Because remember, when you're talking about creation, the creation of the hydrogen and the helium atom was how the sun was created. Because hydrogen and helium, the reaction of 554 million tons of hydrogen with 550 million tons of helium then creates 4 million tons of hydrogen, which is self-sustaining. That's how the sun works. But there were electrical storms that blew from the sun, Apsu or Shamash, that we have now, which created the continuum and the throwing off of the different planets in this solar system. The 19 that surrounded Sal, those 19 became the 19 galaxies. You understand? So we are now in the Milky Way, which is the 18th galaxy, based upon the planet Om. exploding and exploding and creating a continuum. Because when you're talking about stars, suns, etc., etc., they have a life cycle. And the life cycle was guided by these forces, these creative forces, these 9 ether forces, which manipulated elements and atoms. Are you with me? It's the manipulation through the forces of who he can see. Let me just identify what who he can see is. When you say who he is the tone, the vibration, the pulsation of the universe itself. When you say who he is the force, says everything vibrates, everything pulsates. You understand? Hika is the anthropomorphic manifestation of elements and atoms. Basically, it'll be classified as your magic, but it's not really magic. It's the use of atoms and elements to create physicality. And then you have Sia, which is the personification of mind. Those were your triad forces or creator forces. Do you understand? Because when we're talking about creation in that respect, you're literally talking about the manipulation of parts and byads to create the atom. These are scientific processes. No abracadabra. Everything is a process. When you say creation to creation as a process. There's no 7-day creation. There's no 6-day creation.
Well, the Lord never wave him hand and make it happen, brother.
Well, the abracadabra's poof. The hocus pocus poof. And the poof. I'm not calling God a poof, by the way. All of this poof and kun fire kun denotes that, you know, this force is supposed to be omnipotent, omnipresent, omnificent, with all of the powers. That's all that would needed to have been done. He wouldn't need 6 days to do it, because 6 days is too long, and to rest on the 7th day is ridiculous for something that created sleep. That doesn't make sense. So 6 days could be 5 days, but 5 days is too long, because really 5 days could be 4. And then when you go to 4 really could be 3. And then in actuality 3 could be 2. So why you take 2 days? God is too long. Why not do it in 1? Okay, 24 hours. Go to 12. Because in reality, if God has that power, then he could do it within 12 hours. No, shrink it down to the hour. But even that's too long. Because in reality, you should be able to do it within a minute. But then, hey, it doesn't run like that. The minute is even too long. So why not a second? But then forget the second, go to the first. And so, okay, so why do you need a first? Why can't you just instantaneous? It's because you're not talking about an abracadabra, poof, hocus pocus God. You're talking about the Bible rendition. The concepts that we have been given will teach you that, but even the Bible doesn't tell you that. There's a process. Everything is a process. If Jesus was real, why would he need to go through the 9-month process? It's a process.
So basically the see and do process of this God, because he done it, then saw that it was good, done it and saw that it was good. All of that's not really the creative force.
It's really when you're talking about the see and it was good, and we could go through the Bible and pinpoint all of the goods in the Bible, you find that there's portions missing. The stories don't really make sense. Are you with me? Only because it's taken from the ancient writings and you've been given a watered down version. Because take a look, let's go to Genesis, because you pull us back there for a second. It says, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And then it jumps and says, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. But do you know the reality is that there's a big portion missing there? Because when you go to the book of Jeremiah, which is kind of interesting, and remember, if you can, the point where I stopped, there's a section in the book of Jeremiah which in actuality has been taken from the book of Genesis. And it states, this is Jeremiah 4, chapter 4, verse 23. I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void, and the heavens, and they had no light. Remember, we're talking about in the beginning. I beheld the mountains, and wilderness, and all the cities thereof were broken down at the presence of the Lord, and by his fierce anger. For thus hath the Lord said, the whole land shall be desolate. In actuality, that should come straight after, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. It's a section that's been taken out. So with sections being taken out and being rearranged, you know, the stories, the 7-day phenomena, it doesn't work, because you're really talking about periods of 7,000 years. Are you with me? Which would really, in actuality, mean 49,000 years. And the last 1,000 years would have been the rest period after 48,000. So this 7-day is not a reality. It's a nice story if you're trying to give God the all-powerful, the all-knowing, the all-everything scenario, but then he doesn't live up to it. Because remember, in Numbers 23, 22 it states that God has the strength of a unicorn. Do unicorns really exist? Unicorns don't. Unicorns do not exist. And how can God have the strength of a unicorn? If God created the unicorn, I thought God would have more power. It doesn't make sense. Not in the year 2001, you know, people need to wake up and surpass that box mentality, the religious box that we have been placed in, because that keeps our divinity dead.
See, and I hope you're gathering this, because the point of where the Bible is just, there's so much to learn beyond that, and we're going to try and go into that briefly now. You spoke about the creation of this sun. I mean, our sun in this solar system. Who done that and why?
Right, when you're talking about the sun in our solar system, you have to remember that all creation is done by who? The creative forces. Do you understand? When we're talking about forces, we're talking about forces before physical. Are you with me? The creation of this sun was a product of the explosion of Om. Are you with me? The explosion of Om created the 18th galaxy and many multiple explosions. Because when you're talking about the sun has a cycle. It just doesn't just become a sun. It goes through what is called a nebulous state, where you have the hydrogen and helium gases. Remember, those gases have to be manipulated consciously to create what is called a protostar, which then becomes a main sequence star. The main sequence star, the state that we have as our sun now, is called a main sequence star. That will eventually burn out in millions of years and become what is called a red giant. And if it becomes, you know, a white dwarf, it's, you know, it's flickering and burning for a certain period of time. It becomes a black dwarf, it's totally burnt out. But if it's, you know, larger than our sun, because our sun is 300 times the size of Earth as we know it, if the star is actually larger than our sun, it will blow into what is called a supernova. And this supernova, through time and age, then becomes either a neutron star, where the neutrons are highly compressed, or it can actually become a black hole. Every galaxy has a black hole. And when you're talking about a black hole, you're talking about compressed energy that is so tight, the gravitational pull is so tight, that it strips down the physical to proton, electron, neutrons, and rips that to shreds. It even pulls in light. Those are gateways to different dimensions. Remember, we are talking about forces that grew the universes. These forces grew the galaxies. These forces grew the sun. Now when you say sun, remember, we are sun people. We are made for the sun. So as sun people, you're talking about sun power, sun genes. Because we were created. When you say tamare, ta means earth. Ma is water, because we evoluted from the seas. And then you have Re, which is the sun, because we are melanated beings that feed off of the sun. That's why we have the sun and moon cycle. We thrive in the sun, and other beings kind of thrive in the moon. And that happens every 6,000 years. Are you with me? We have the moon, sun cycle. We are now in the sun cycle, which is the, you know, the age of what you call the age of intelligence, the Aquarian age, the age of technology, the age of ether, etc., etc. We are in our time now, in the universal revolution of the universe. So when you say, who created the sun? Remember, the sun is started by a process by these beings. Do you understand what I'm saying? On the other side of existence, all creation started from a dot, a nukta, a point, and this point then became a line, and then we go into the circle and the square. We have the creation of the square with the 4 points and the circle, the square being finite, the circle being infinite. Because it's round, it's a circle of 360 degrees, which is 9. And the square, again, is 360, which is 9. To keep it short and simple, the circle and the square is not the circle and the square that we know. This is talking about the circle and square on the other side. The circle was put into the square, and you can imagine if you're putting something that is infinite into a finite state, that will create friction and clash. You understand? So there was many processes that was used to force that circle into the square, and then that circle exploded. Are you with me? And that exploding led to your atom, hydrogen and helium. Hydrogen and helium exploding creates the sun. So it was a process, a scientific process. And in actuality, when you're speaking on that wavelength, we're talking about the manipulation of the quarks. You understand? And the manipulation of the protons and the electrons, which made the hydrogen, which made the helium, and all elements after that came through hydrogen and helium, which is the sun. Why we identify Re as the creator deity, the sun, not that we worship the sun, we acknowledge that all things physical came through hydrogen and helium. Do you understand? When we say Re, the Most High, or Anu, the Most High, these were beings. Physical beings that adopted a seat. They took a seat. Are you with me? There was pre the physical, which is Huhi, Hika, and Sia, which is degrees of vibrational rates going to the other side.
So let's get right back down to earth now, yeah? And we'll talk about the races on the earth, okay? The origin of the races on the earth. You know, they say they have 4 races: your Negro, your Mongoloid, what's it? Yeah, your Indians, etc., etc. I mean, you know, could you break down the actual races?
Okay, when you're talking about the races, we're going to go to the walls of ancient Tamaray, where it talks about the genetic process on the walls of Seti in the temples of Abydos, where you will see the genetic process of the graftation of the black gene to the brown gene, to the red gene, to the yellow gene, to the white gene. It was classified as the Nazi, Hamu, Namu, and Tamahu. Are you with me? So when we say those titles, you're identifying the black, the brown, the red, and the white. The white gene being the Tamahu. Tamahu meaning created filth, unfortunately. This was a ghost station process of a being being extracted from these same Hindus. Remember the Hindus that we spoke about earlier? The demonic side of these Hindus, it was an experiment to breed a ghostized version of that being, to basically try to take out the genetic, which is, you know, kind of a bit more than just the wrong. You see what I'm saying? That's why when you look at the word Caucasian, you're talking about carcass Asian, deteriorating Asian, a dead Asian. Look at the white man again. If you look at the white man, you look at an Asian, what's the difference? The Asian has black hair, straight hair, aquiline nose, thin lips, thin, just like the Caucasian. But the Caucasian is a genetic mutation of the Hindu. Are you with me? That's why you have the Nazi, Hamu, are you with me? Namu and Tamahu. This is on the walls, the black to the brown, to the red, to the yellow, to the white, grafted beings. So when we talk about the Tamahu, that was just one experiment. Because if you're talking about biblically, you have Canaan. Canaan, who was known as Libana, which meant milky white, was the son of who? Ham. And if you read the book of Genesis, it says it quite clearly in there. Genesis, because from the Bible, talk about the Bible. Genesis 9:25, it talks about a curse that was put on who? Canaan, not Ham. Racists always want to say, Ku Klux Klan want to say those slave traders or kidnappers, they like to say that Ham was cursed. Albinism, the extraction again of a gene, do you understand, to bring forth Nubian, but white. Are you with me? And the doorway to divinity. In Genesis, you will see the curse 9:25, and Leviticus 14:34. It tells you about a curse symbolically put in the house of Canaan. And then when you go to Leviticus 13:30, you will see it quite literally. The description of skin leuproma, the boils, the red skin, the burning flesh, so on and so forth. And then you come to a part where they have to be quarantined by the priest. This is what it says in the Bible. I'm not saying it. This is what it says in the Bible. But then it also makes mention of a point where they become clean and smoothed over. This is unfortunately, this is the Caucasian. This is not, being detrimental or rich. They're clean lepers. But what happens is, when you go into the sun and they go into the sun, what takes place? They burn. They scald. They turn red. Do you understand? They flake. That's the description in the book of Leviticus. Where'd you go? But that's, again, one genetic process. Again, you had another genetic process which is going to the Fulgurians, which is going back 8,400 years. Canaan goes back 6,000 years. But these were not the first white people, because the first white beings were the behemoth that were bred in the field. And the behemoth was bred from the orangutan and the baboon. Now the baboon genes has the hyena and the jackal. Do you understand? The beast of the field, when you talk about the beast of the field, you're in actuality taking now us to a level of connecting the Neanderthal beings that they talk about. These hairy, monstrous beings. These were also Caucasian. They existed millions of years ago. So the white man didn't just come about 6,000 years Canaan, 8,400 the Fulgurians. Because remember, when you go to the beast in the field, the behemoth, remember you also have to identify that when you go into the expanse of the universes and go to Europa or Andromeda, you have the blonde-haired, blue-eyed white beings from the Ashtar Federation. And these blonde-haired, blue-eyed white beings from the Ashtar Federation existed thousands of, even though they are Johnny-come-lately, because these beings were bred from reptilian beings, disagreeable reptilian beings.
So what you're saying, the white gene or the white germ came from a reptilian origin.
That's correct. Most definitely correct. Now, this is not to say that all white people are bad. Maybe they are. I don't know. I'm not looking for the the good one. I'm looking for the good amongst my own, and that's hard enough. You know what I'm saying? Because you do know that there's black devils out there. But if you look at, just be real and look at the world around, you can see what the European has done. That's no biggie. Sometimes I listen to the radio station when I hear certain, people talk about the white man or what have you, and the flack that they get. The flack that they're getting is only because it's a reality. That's a reality.
So that's that germ. Now, what about like black people, with our various hues, and also like the Chinese, and then the Indians and the Hindus already here, but the origin of that germ.
Remember, when we're talking about the black gene, when you go into Nuwaubian, the science of Nuwaubian, the science of these beings, remember these beings existed pre-physical. Now Nuwaubian explains it like this. When you're talking about 9 ether beings, the manifestation of 9 ether beings is the Nubians, dark skin. 6 ether, which is the fall of 9 ether, the conscious level from 9 to 6 is your Hindu beings. And then 6 to 3 is the manifestation of ghost, which is the Caucasian again, because the Caucasian quite literally is a ghost. When you're watching Casper and you see the white ghost, that's the Caucasian manifested in the physical form. The Chinese strain is going all the way back to a group of beings called the Olmecs. Now you know about the Olmecs. The Olmecs going all the way back to the Nubians when the planet was one landmass. And you know that the Nubians who moved from places like Uganda, under names like Ugandapithecus, Kenyapithecus, and Morotopithecus Bishopi, those were titles that were used for the peopling of the planet. Remember, we're talking about intelligent beings, the people of the planet going back to Homo genus, but they don't identify Homo genus as intelligent because they don't want to, to let loose the mysteries that in reality, when you're talking about Tahites, Nubans, these were your pyramid builders. But the dates that they fixate on us is the 6,000. And because they put the 6,000, when we look back beyond 6,000, we get trapped because, well, you know, no civilized mind state could come before the year 6,000. That is a trick. But remember, when we talk about the Olmecs now, the Nubans living on the continent called Tamaray, when they migrated to the other side before the continental drift, before America was America, because if you look at a map, you see that America and so-called Africa fit like a puzzle. All of the continents fit like a puzzle. We resided on both sides that were called Olmecs. These Olmecs were the rubber people because they transported rubber. Are you with me? Now you had a group of people that migrated into that region under Hussein in 459 overstood AD and mixed in with the Olmecs, which later bred your so-called Native American Indian. Remember, these were Chinese. The Chinese are descendants of beings called the Teros. The Teros beings coming from the Jomon planet in the Bootes star constellation. These are your conehead type beings. Now the genetic mix with the beings that was here produced a genetic mutation. Why Chinese, you know, even though you have the Mongoloids, which is a variation from the Chinese, they don't have eyelids, their hair is hollow, they have a different genetic makeup to us. Are you with me? These are connections to their ancestors. Because Chinese, you know, Chinese are different from us. They keep their secrets sacred. So they have a different genetic pool. You understand? As well as the Hindus. And then you have the Caucasians. And then remember, you had many forms of intermixing that has been taking place for thousands of years. Thousands of years. Intermixing, which created different hues, different shades, and different skin types. Initially, we had 7 different melanin types. 7 different hues. Let me explain what I mean when I say 7 different hues or different skin types as melanated beings, because it's very important for people to understand that when we're talking about melanin, there's different strains of melanin. You have the people from Kemet who have the black hue, Ethiopians who have the greenish type of hue, and then you have the Nigerians with that browny hue, dark albeit, and then you have the people from Zimbabwe with the yellow hue, Sudanese, the copper tone, and then you have the Western black hemisphere, which is a mix of different variations. So there are many different hues that is amongst us as a people. Do you understand? And then add to that the mixing with the Chinese, are you with me? And also the mixing with the Caucasian. And you know, some of us, we really do like the Hindu girls, how they look sexy and pretty and what have you. It's just true. And people are being real, you know, some of them are laying down with the Tamahu as well. The Mitani, the Caucasian, because, you know, they like a bit of the old. That's a reality. That accounts for the many different hues and different genetic combinations that we have. And the different genetic mentalities that is being exhibited today in this day and time. A hodgepodge of confusion.
So basically, in the different hues now, you broke down those, what was it, 6 or 7? 7 different types?
That's right.
Okay.
Melanated hues.
Right, okay. Where did that, I mean, those germs or those hues, where did they originate? How did they originate?
Remember, when we're talking about those germs and those hues and how did they originate? Those germs and those hues and how did they originate? All of the origination of beings on this planet, physical beings, was based upon processes or projects of seeding the planet. Remember, initially we spoke about the Nun project. You remember that? Right, the Nun project. And after the Nun project, you had what is called the Dolphin project, which was the breeding of the genes into the seeds, the taking of the seed, when we say seed, the semen, the cells of Atum, Amun, and Amunet. And this was put into a dolphin, not the same dolphin that we're talking about now. This dolphin was taken from Lahmu, Mars, because Mars was the laboratory where many experiments took place. And this dolphin was then put into the seas. And then the germination of the seeds took place. evolution, revolution. That's right. No, this is going back before, in actuality, the protozoa. Because when you read the Bible, it talks about the earth was dark and void. The earth was dark and void over many different points in time. Are you with me? Remember, you had many different Big Bangs and different creations. You had the 24 billion year ago creation of earth from Tiamat. Then you go back 46 billion years, and the 46 billion years was the actual seeding of the planet by these beings. Remember, when we're talking about Earth has been around for a very long time, and much longer than most people acknowledge. Are you with me? So when we're talking about where initially did these beings revolute from, it was from the initial seeding of the planet and the guidance of the beings called the Natiru in the Dolphin Project. Are you with me? Because now you've opened that door. When you're talking about the sun exploding and the sun throwing off Tiamat, as it was called at the time, which then became Earth. Remember, the Earth was hot, red hot, and then it had to cool. And insofar as it cooling, it contained carbon and hydrocarbons which circulated the planet. Now, over years and years, these carbons and hydrocarbons then descended into the waters of Earth. Are you with me? And the light and the fusion with the carbon, because remember at that point in time you had ammonia, methane and water, because those were the substances. You understand? Right, these were the substances that was on the planet, the chemical substances, which is really nitrogen, hydrogen, carbon and sulfur. This formula, once the light, the sun's rays hit it, remember now the carbon has descended, because before that point in time, no light could hit Earth. The carbon rings descended. The light hit these chemicals and created fusion, fission, a chemical reaction. And this chemical reaction led to your first combination of simple molecules. Are you with me? This is before the amoeba. And these simple molecules then became more organized as molecules and led to what is called protein. Anybody who knows about anatomy or physiology will know that protein is part of the building blocks of you as a being. Protein is built by amino acids. Then protein over, remember we're talking about millions of years, then evoluted or revoluted into your first single cell, the prototype. And it was at this point where the beings brought the seed of Atum, Amun, and Amunet into the seas. You understand? They originally came from Sibtu to Lahmu, Mars, and took the dolphin and brought it into the seas, then germinated the seas. And that led to your first single cell, the amoeba.
So basically the sea beings were like a reptilian being?
Oh, you jump millions of years way down the line. Because now if you want to jump like that, you want to jump because that's like a million years wiped out.
I'm just trying to here's one I prepared earlier. No, what I'm saying is when you're saying those that germinate, what now? The seeds germinate.
To keep it simple and short, basically the amoeba evoluted into what's called a protozoa. The protozoa being your first animal, first time. That's what protozoa means. And the protozoa then revoluted or evoluted into what's called a metazoa. The metazoa is a multicellular cell with the ability to adapt to any environment, which means that the adaptation that suits it, it will adapt to. Do you understand? This all took place in the seas, the waters, etc., etc. This then led to the revolution of your amphibious beings, which is going back 500 million years. Your amphibious beings, the first beings to come onto land, were like crocodiles. They were like reptilians. Your descendants, your initial descendants were crocodilian, reptilian type looking beings. That's why if you do any research, you find out that there was a reptilian type being, warm-blooded, called the Dimetrodon, which had a big fin. And that fin was used to regulate the sun. Do you understand? This is identified by your spine, the bones on your spine, and the teeth, molars and incisors, the two sets of teeth. That was unique to the Dimetrodon. The Dimetrodon evoluted from a group of amphibious beings called the synapsid and diapsid. Are you with me? You don't lose. You open the door. When you say synapsid and dynapsid, you're dealing with aggressive and passive revolution. The synapsid, out of the synapsid came your humans, your whales, and most mammalian creatures. Your dynapsid, which were aggressive, disagreeable, when you use that term, evoluted your reptilian, turtle, etc., etc. Then, out of the seas, remember, we came out as crocodilian type beings. But the reality is, when you're talking about the beings coming out of the seas, remember, everything was done under the guidance of these beings. The Netiru, the Ogdoads, the Ilus, are you with me? And the Anunnaki, because they were all projects. And the first sea creatures to come out of the sea was the female Ogdoads. Nun, Net, Hehet, Keket, and Amenet. The Ogdoads were your sea creatures that came from Sibtu. Initially, they were our Etherian parents. Or when we say Etherian parents, this is before physical. But then they came as, that's right, and then dwelt in the seas. Why? The woman was here first. Because the woman has the natural asexual capacity to procreate by self. You know the whole story. You understand? That's because these female beings came out of the seas first. And when you do any readings into the Nile Valley civilization, you find out that the women were, you know, the rulers. That's going back 500 million years ago. Revolution, your first sea vertebrates. And then you had your 225 million year ago amphibious and plants revolution. And then your 100 million years ago life forms on land. Do you understand? So we came through a reptilian, I know some people don't want to hear that, a reptilian lineage. You look at your hands, you see the scales. If you look at yourself and be honest, you dry, you become ashy, you're scared. Look at the web between your hands. When you was pre-you, you were a tadpole, a sperm in water. This is all due to the reptilian connection.
So like the tonsils, us being a semen in the beginning, all of that is in relation to that. So the hair of the body and the mixture now and the different natures that come through all the other species.
Now when you talk about the hair and the different natures, remember, as evolution was taking place, you had beings, the Laris, the chimpanzee, etc., etc., that also evoluted based upon their environment, etc., etc. Genes was used from these beings. You understand? The Laris being your spiritual monkey, the chimpanzee, which is genetically the closest to man. Are you with me? And also the gibbon. These were your original seed that revoluted or evoluted into your Nubans or your Tahites, the small people. But remember, it was the genes that was used and the genes of the Netiru that was mixed with these beings where the intelligence comes from. It's not just that you just evoluted as, you know, a monkey and then all of a sudden you became intelligent. It was the cells that was taken, because Darwin always missed the point when he explained Homo genus, Homo erectus, Homo sapien. He never explained the parts. He never explained how the revolution took place. That's right, and where all of that came from. And that came from the genetic manipulation of the cells done by these beings of higher intelligence and intellect. Why they say Homo genus is dumb. And remember, they say Homo genus is dumb because Homo genus is supposed to have no brain. They give you the 6,000 year scenario. But remember, 6 goes to the 6. Because when you have the 6,000 year scenario that they give you, as I said earlier on, they don't want you to see past 6,000 years. Because once you go past 6,000 years, you're going into prehistory. You're going into mysteries, which is my story, our story. So when you go into prehistory, you don't want to identify yourself. They've dated that the pyramids go back 10,500 BC now. That's what they're saying. But if the pyramids go back 10,500 BC, and you know that the pyramids were built by intelligent people, then how could we only go back 6,000 years? That means there was nobody to build the pyramids 10,500 years BC. Contradiction. But they always contradict themselves, because when you look at their dates, all of their dates are confusing. It's a total joke, because they will tell you that modern man goes back, and some of you have heard this before, 33,000 years. They will tell you that Homo sapien goes back 100,000 years. They will tell you that Homo erectus goes back 1.75 million years. They will tell you that Neanderthal man goes back 100, and 20,000 years. They'll tell you all of these dates, taking you to Homo habilis, 2.5 million years, taking you all the way to Australopithecus, which is 4.5, and then they give you the bones of Lucy, and then Lucy's supposed to be some dumb monkey. Only because it's found in Ethiopia. Are you with me? But when you really identify 4.5 million years, that's a long way beyond 6,000. So something's not right. And then they go even further, or went further, to the Millennium Man, which was 6 million years. And that was found last year. So you're going from 6,000 to 6. That's why I say 6 to 6. Forgetting that they've already given us dates of 15 million years, Keniopithecus, and then 20 million years, Morotopithecus bishopi, the people, the planet. Morotopithecus bishopi, Ugandapithecus, Keniopithecus. Every time you see Pithecus, Australopithecus means southern monkey. So you see a monkey, unintelligent. But the reality is, if they were unintelligent, remember the pyramids 10,500 years, which in reality goes back way beyond that, were built by these same Tahites. It was the Tahites that built the pyramids, because we're really going back into pre-dynastic time. And when you're going back into pre-dynastic time, that's a whole new ball game. The reason why they give you 6,000 is because they want to limit your mind. So your mind won't think that far back. Your mind won't go back to ancient Egypt called Tamaray as we know it. Do you understand? You won't identify that you were the pyramid builders. When I say you, me as well, that we were the pyramid builders, that we were the anatomists, that we were the chemists, the biochemists, the astrophysicists. Those genes are within us. But most people, I don't want to go back there. But it's not about going back there. That's a good point, because we're not talking about going back there. We're talking about reigniting the genetics now, because we should be living like that now. We shouldn't be living in council flats. We should be building pyramids. Low self-esteem is leading to a lot of us doing a lot of damage to each other. The black on black crime, all the crazy stuff that's going on out there is because we've been taught lack of self-esteem. We suffer from low self-esteem, and we need to be built up. Because once you know who you are, what you are, then you can do great things. But if you don't, you will do crazy things. And most of the madness that is going on now is done because of ignorance.
That's 100%. You know, I hope you're all taking this down, and I hope you got your questions ready, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask a few more points, and then we're going to open up the phone lines and hear what you all have to say. Now, so let's summarize what you've said, because you've said a whole heap. Away from in the beginning, God said, let there be light, and all the rest of it. Above all of that, I mean, that's a lot of information. Where can we check this information out, and what sources?
Well, there's different sources. I mean, I'm a student of the Supreme Grand Master, straight up. Nate Aferti Atom Ray. So I could just say, you know, just go to check out the Supreme Grand Master, check out the various stores. But you see, we're not into this, you know, methodology of belief. We don't want you to believe. We don't want you to agree. That's the last thing that we want. What we want is for people to go and do their research. And there's many forms of doing research. You can go to the libraries where the lies are buried, but the truths are also there. There's many truths that are being shown on television, because you know a lot of people tell lie vision, tell his vision, telling lies visually, and they end up selling off their television and getting rid of. No, keep your TV and watch the documentaries. Yes, oftentimes it is telling his vision, and it has a lot of muck and mire on the TV. True. But as well as the muck and mire, there's very intelligent documentaries. And oftentimes you'll find that many of these documentaries verify the teachings of the Supreme Grand Master and Nate Aferti Atom Ray. If you can, do some traveling. Go to Egypt, go to Tamaray. Get around. Broaden the horizons. Don't believe us. Check it out. Because what we are saying is truth, reality, beyond doubt. But I can say that it's for you to go and do your research.
Yeah, and that's the key to it. Okay, live link number in the studio. Okay, take this down and I'm going to hook it up. Okay, 07950 813 473. Okay, that's 07950 813-473. We're going to have a little break, okay? Unless you want anything to add?
All I have to say is check it out. Check it out. Just check it out.
Okay, we're going to hook up the live link, okay? So, you know, chill out, go and grab a drink and, you know, get your brains in check now, you know what I mean? Because I know that might be way above yours head, all right? And we'll come back in a little sec. Okay, yeah, if anybody out there would like to give me a check, please, to see if this is done, all right? Live link number in the studio again, 07950 813 473. That's 07950 813 473. Okay, I'm going to try and hook this up now, okay? Go ahead, caller, you're live on Genesis. Hello? Caller, you live? Hello? Caller? Hello? Yeah, are you there? What's wrong with this TV? Yo, hello, caller, you there? No, I can't get you. We're just trying to get you up here. We're having a little technical. Hang on. Yeah, are you there? Go on, keep talking. See if I can get you. No, I can't. Hang on, I don't know what's happening in there. Hello? Yeah, I can hear you on the phone, but I'm trying to get you to come through on the set. And it's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. Hang on. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, but you're not coming through on the monitor. No, it's not coming through, is it? No. Yeah. All right. Try back in a sec. Yeah. All right. We're gonna just try and sort this out. Yeah. All right, bro. Thanks. Yeah, we're just having a little bit of difficulty with the phone at the moment, all right? So just give us a sec and we'll be back on the other side, all right? Okay, Mr. Man, if you're out there listening across the capital, I beg you give me a call in the studio, please, or come over, please, yeah? Nice. Sorry to tell you, back again. Enough respect to the Senator, huh? I hope he kept you on your toes. Now you know it's learning time. Time to wake up. Time to grab a pen and a piece of paper. Some light refreshments. Relax. Because we continue the mind cleansing process on the 916. Run and get your pens and papers. Okay. Usual format on the Wednesday night. We have a doctor from the United Nuwaubian Nation of Moors. Subject tonight, creation. Remember those people that are out there putting down the United Nuwaubian Nation of Moors when you're trying to tell them something like they know better. Remember, I tell them that we're on here live now, so there's no excuse. Those women out there, and you know your man's telling you nonsense, and his ego can't take it, that this is the right thing. Don't follow it. You know what's right for yourself and your children. Just do the right thing by them. Allow the riffraff. Okay, now you've got your pens and your pieces of paper because we're going to give out the telephone number. 0705 0087 I'll repeat that time. Relax to the music. 05 0087 426. We're not opening up the phone lines yet. Just take it down so you're prepared. I'll give it out again after the doctor has introduced herself. And then we can roll after a brief summary and breakdown of the curriculum of the night. Also, for those that don't want to call in live, you can call off here on the 0374 231 658. That's 0374 231 658. Now I'll ask the doctor to come up and introduce herself, and she'll be taking you through the agenda of the night.
Nation of Moors. I'd like to send positive greetings to all Nuwaubians around London, that family. Tonight's topic will be on the science of creation. I'll go through various different aspects of this topic, and then we'll take questions on the telephone after the actual breakdown itself. So what I'll be covering to start with will be the religious concepts of creation. And I'll be dealing with the scientific theories, they're not facts, they're just theories. Then I'll be dealing with the right knowledge breakdown of the science of creation, starting from the beginning, the very start of our existence, 76 trillion years ago. I'll break that down fully so you understand. Then I'll deal with the actual word and concept of creation itself, and how it doesn't make sense in the religious misconception of the term, or the word. I hope all the listeners have been enjoying the Supreme Grandmaster Teacher's tapes on Fridays by Minsta Rebel. This is an important time we're in. This information is dynamic. We don't ask you to believe it, you have faith in it. We tell you that it's factual information that can be researched using experience, evidence and reason. So I hope you have your tools ready so you can take down the information that I'm passing on. Don't just accept it and sit back and say, yeah, this is right. Check it out so you know. Because it's a time for change. It's a new age that we're in now. So it's a time for people to wake up. We're not just here out of ego to just sound good. We're here to wake up and resurrect our people. That's what we need right now. It's that time that we're in now for that to take place. So that's what we ask you, beg you to do for the sake of the future, for the sake of your children, for the sake of your own souls. Not to sound fanatical, but that's the way it is now.
Okay, know it goes, and I've got a few questions to ask as well. All right. Remember the live link number is 0705 0087426, but we're not going to open it yet. All right, because I've got a few questions. Okay. Where did it all start?
Where it all started is with the etheric creation. What you have is a term of creation where things are created in the etheric realm, so they manifest here on the physical realm. Now, the creator, the Most High, and Elyon, El, who we know as Anu, which is the Sumerian name for the Most High, that's how it translates into English. He created what we call planes, or actual moods of vibrations. They call it in certain areas dimensions, in other areas they call them the seven heavens, if you want to be religious. But they are 7 planes of existence that exist. They are actually moods and schemes of vibrations. And for anything to be created, it has to be created on those realms first before they manifest here. There are 7 of those planes, and they have their own subplanes, which then have subplanes, and it goes on through infinity. And it starts with the bosom of the All, the bosom of the Most High, which is the highest plane. And the vibrations slow down until you get to the physical plane, and it will slow down through the other planes, which would have been the plane of divine reality, the plane of divine truth, the mental plane, the spiritual plane, the plane of force, and finally the plane that we're on now, that most people can identify with, which is the physical or material plane, where we're at our slowest vibration. So creation begins at the highest plane, and it manifests slowly here. So everything has a spiritual counterpart. Okay? The original creation, which we call primary creation, was the etheric creation, which took place 76 trillion years ago. Now, this can be researched because you can actually calculate the speed at which the universe is expanding. Okay? The universe is expanding because it originally was a very small piece of matter, or a nukta, or a dot. Okay, and that exploded and caused atoms or molecules, either positive and negative particles, actually explode and collide with each other, and that caused matter to form. And that was the Big Bang. That was an explosion. And from that point, from that very small nukta, you had the universe. That is something that most mortal minds find very hard to grasp. So that's obviously a very simple way of explaining how the universe has become what it is today. You can actually calculate the speed at which the universe is expanding, and if you can calculate the time that it took for the universe to reach its size now, you can calculate that it originally was at nukta 76 trillion years ago. Originally the galaxies were much closer together, they were more concentrated, okay, they were more dense, and scientists will actually verify that further into the center of the universe, galaxies are closer together, and further out to the edge of the universe, they're further apart. That shows you that it's expanding. Okay, and there's a point when it began to do that, and that was the original creation 76 trillion years ago. But I wanted to address, first of all, the misconceptions that religion have of the science of creation. They don't call it science, they just call it the creation story in Genesis. The religion's interpretation of creation is that some supreme being, or being from beyond the stars somewhere, that is from heaven, which I can't say where exactly it is, it's a mythological place, started to make, fashion and form things. And this is what they call the creation of the planet Earth, the animals and humans, etc. And that's as far as they can explain it. And this is the concept that you have in religions like the Jewish religion, the Judaic religion rather, or the Hebrew Israelites, and they use the Torah to try and back up their concepts. The Christians have their New Testament, which doesn't explain very much about creation at all, but that's the only book that they choose to read. They choose to ignore the books that predate the New Testament, which is where the New Testament actually comes from, where you can get more accurate information from. But that's the Christians, and that's what they use. The Muslims use the Quran, and all of these books do not have a full account of the creation story, or the science of creation. They have a very limited amount of information on this topic, and so it's helping to keep our people under a spell of ignorance where they do not know the facts, and they're left to believe in these concepts that don't make any sense, ignore scientific evidence, evidence, it's factual. These are things that you can research. These are things that have been found through investigation time and time again and have proven to be the same. So it's showing you that it is evidence, it's factual. They choose to ignore these things, and so they are therefore trapped in their books, and they're trapped within their religion, and so they cannot explain the fullness of this one topic, at least, the science of creation. And so these religious fanatics, we call them fanatics because they're passionate about these concepts that are not logical, they ignore the facts. It helps people to be paralyzed within this ignorance, okay? So this spell that we're talking about has to be broken. It takes many forms. It's taken time for our people to be submerged under this spell, and so it's information that can bring our people out of this spell, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. That's why the Supreme Grand Master Teacher is here in this day and time. He's come for his children, he's asking us to come home now, and he's bringing facts, not just theories, not opinions, not philosophy, it's none of that, it's real. Okay, so the concept that you have in religion is that some mythological, supernatural being just clicked his fingers and everything just came into existence. Either saying the word be and it came into existence. So first of all, this being had to have a voice. So the question might be, what language was he speaking in? And who was he talking to when he said be? Also, you have this concept where this being was shaping the human body with its complexities. And when we say complexities, we're referring to the fact that we have a very, very complicated makeup. You know, we very much take for granted our external appearance, but we forget that we have organ systems, we have a nervous system, we have a blood system, we have a brain, we have cells that have their own things that go on inside them. You know, it's very, very in-depth. There are various different processes that take place. And for that to have just taken just a snap of a finger or a word be for it to come into existence is very, very doubtful. And you have to really sit down and think about this and how it's possible. Okay, especially when you have a concept where we were just simply made from clay. So at this point that we were made from clay, was he forming the blood vessels from clay? Was he sitting there and making them? Was he making the nervous system? Was he making the brain from clay? You have to really go into depth. Okay, the question is, I'm taking a question now, and it's where did the religions get their concepts of creation from? Okay, the concepts of creation come from the translators of the text that we mentioned. We mentioned the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. Okay, they were originally translated from ancient tablets that were revealed to the Sumerians, and they were written and recorded in a script called cuneiform. Okay, now this gives you a better, more accurate account of creation, but the translators used their skill to actually mistranslate, so that we will actually be misguided through reading these books in their form that we have now. And so the concepts of creation, the concepts of God, and the concepts of a lot of other religious things that you have in their doctrine was actually created or born in the minds of the people that translated these original texts into the poor translations and poor copies that we have now. So that's where the actual concepts of creation as well as other things come from. Okay, it's meant to misguide and mislead because it's making you believe that one being, some supernatural being, did something miraculous and brought things into existence, and they're trying to hide the fact that it was more than one being that was responsible for our creation, and that we were not the first people on the planet. Adam and Eve were not the first people. They had parents, they came from tribes, they had, you know, descendants and ancestors. And so these things are hidden from us to keep us believing in the fact that, you know, it's just us in the universe, or you know, there's only one God that's responsible for us being here, and that isn't true. And that's part of the spell that has to be broken. I hope I've answered that question. I'll just continue with the point that I'm trying to make about the religious misconceptions of the creation story. Many people are led to believe, and that's what we're still doing, we're believing in things. Believe is a tricknology word, be like Eve, lie to Eve's children. We're believing, we're not having, we're not accepting facts, we're just accepting things that we don't know for facts, and that's not enough for us. Our ancestors knew things, we have to now know things. It's that time again. Anyway, many people are led to believe that the creation of human beings or living creatures just happened to come into existence in just, you know, an instant, as I was saying before. And you know, this doesn't make sense. You know, have all these intricate systems that we have doesn't make sense. Okay, so for it to just happen in one instant, you know, there's more to it than that. Okay, so
So you're trying to say, Judge will never just wave his hand and make it happen. No, it didn't go like that? No?
it didn't go like that. It was a process. I mean, even if you look if you use the book, the Bible, if you use the Genesis story, it does give you hints that it didn't happen instantly like that, because it tells you it took 6 days. From day 1 to day 6, there was a process. So there wasn't just a poof and everything just...
What about the kun fire kun?
Again, I mean, that's a similar concept, but in Islam now. You know, kun fire kun is meant to be Arabic for be, and it will come, exist, and it will come into existence. That's what Allah is supposed to have said before Adam was created. But even if the Most High, if the Creator in your Bibles, in your conceptual books, is all powerful and all knowing, and can do anything, he can have miraculous powers, why would he need to say 3 words? Why not just say 1? Why not just say kun and not kun, fire, and kun as well? You know, if he has no limits to his power, then he shouldn't need to take time to do things according to your concept that will just take an instant and everything will come into existence. When we say creation, it's actually a process that takes time. When you start researching the definitions of words like this, you must look into the person that's defining the word for you, because the way that they define a word is based on their own background, their own beliefs. They have beliefs, and that will influence the way that they define things. So they have their own definitions. Even the language that they're brought up speaking will influence the definition that they give a word. Their experiences in life and how they see things always influences the way that they define it. So when you have a dictionary that is written by somebody, you have to look at that person and what their background is. Okay, and people in religion actually rely on these people's interpretations. You know, with all of this person's personal experiences, people are putting their whole heart and soul into their own interpretations of these books and these concepts, such as the one creator concept.
I got a question now. Where did the theory of evolution come from?
The theory of evolution actually came from a person called Charles Darwin. He was somebody that lived in the 19th century. He was actually born in 1809 and died in 1882. And his theory is called Darwinism, the theory of evolution through natural selection. Okay, so that theory actually came from him and his observations, but obviously that theory has flaws, and that's why it's only a theory and not fact. Okay, there's certain aspects of his theory that can be researched and found to be factual, but a lot of it is lacking. Okay, so he based his theory on 4 presumptions. One being that any species had to overproduce its offspring so that it will make sure that it had successful descendants. Okay. He had another presumption that there are forces that exist that produce random variation amongst offspring. So that means that it will give, because there will be variation between one child of that species and another child, that will give rise to different species, and therefore you get the diversity in organisms that you have on the planet today. So you have diversity in fish or in birds, etc. So this is another concept or assumption that he had. Also, the struggle for existence in the same area. So this is where the survival of the fittest comes into it, where they're competing for available food and shelter. And you know, as I said, that's where the survival of the fittest and natural selection comes into his theory. And then also, you know, the fact that they have to spread their genes amongst their own species, so that the fittest genes will actually survive and pass on their genes to their successive generations, and that's how you get the various species that exist today. Now he's correct in certain things that he said, but part of his theory actually was weak, and that actually meant that his theory was actually discarded. And that was when he was researching into the development of the eye. These things you can actually research. That's why I'm telling you the detail. So you can actually go and research this for yourself. There's also somebody that also lived in the 19th century by the name of John Baptiste Lamarck, and he had a concept of acquired characteristics, which meant that there are traits that are adapted for the specific environment that an animal lives in. So a giraffe has a long neck because he has to reach leaves in a high tree, and things like that. Okay, but they weren't able to prove it at the time, and so those theories were abandoned. So you can't rely on theories. There has to be factual evidence to support these things. This is what we are here to provide. This is what we are here to encourage you to do. So you're not just believing in concepts from religion. You're actually weighing things up and researching them, so you know, not just believe it. There are other concepts related to creation, not only the evolution theory, but there's also the Big Bang theory. Okay, scientists say that about 15 to 20 billion years ago, the Earth started to expand. And as I was saying before, they can actually calculate that the universe started to expand 76 trillion years ago after an explosion of a nukta, or a very, very small particle. And again, in their theory, they do talk about the galaxies being close together and actually traveling as a part of the universe expanding. So that's another theory in which there is some fact, but again, they haven't completely proven everything that they claim. The major thing is that what they say is that this Big Bang actually took place just spontaneously. They don't admit that the Etherians, the Anunnaki, are actually responsible for the creation of the universes, and there's more than one. There's actually 7 universes, of which our universe is the innermost of 7.
So like in these religious books, they don't address stuff like the dinosaurs and whatever. Like, did the Most High create the dinosaurs, or why did he create them? Because in the books, in the Bible, there's nothing about dinosaurs, and I've been to museums and I've seen the bones and whatever. They don't address it.
Okay, I mean, yeah, you're right. If they don't like to address these things, but then you with your eyes and your ears, and you're walking into a museum, you can see for yourself the evidence to prove it. Okay, you have to ask the question: why are they going to the extent of excavating these bones, and what are they trying to prove? Basically, you have an evolutionary process. You do actually have a process where you have single-celled organisms that developed into multicellular ones, where you have the animals developing. And the dinosaurs are actually a species of reptilians, and they actually evolved and they became the different species of dinosaurs that you have, like your Tyrannosaurus rex and your Dimetrodon, etc. And the ancient tablets that I told you that I told you that the Torah is translated from, that actually gives you a more accurate account of evolution. You actually have three stages of evolution. You have the primary stage, which I mentioned earlier, which was 76 trillion years ago, and that was the etheric creation, which is where all matter is first created, because everything has a spiritual counterpart, as we said before. Then you have what is called the secondary creation, or the first one is the original creation, the second one is the evolutionary creation, which is where you have the process of different organisms developing. Then you have the ghostational creation, where you actually have the birth of 6 ether beings. And obviously they had an origin on the etheric realm, where you have the original creation, where you have the birth of the Anunnaki. They're actually created there, and their whole essence is created at that point, and that is 9 ether. And then the evolutionary will be the death of 9 ether, which becomes 6 ether. And then the final creation, which is the ghostational creation, is the death of 6 ether, or ghost, which you may have heard us explain in the past. Okay, so I hope that answered your question there. Another theory that exists about creation is, again, this supernatural being called God actually created the earth over 6 days and rested on the 7th day. Now, if God is all powerful according to the religious books' concepts, this is the God of your Bible, okay, the God that always seems to not add up to all of the doctrines, the claims on him. If he's all powerful, then why does he need to rest? Okay, and again we come back to the creation over time. If you can just say be and everything exists, why use 6 days? The period of 6 days works out to be 144 hours. Why need so much time if that being is all powerful to create, you know, the heavens and the earth and everything else.
Okay. I hope you got all of that. We're going to go over a few more points, but what we're going to do now, we're going to open up the phone lines. So if you've got something to say, say it now. Any questions? Don't feel shy or anything. You can ask. You know, we're all here to learn together. 07 05 00 87 426. We've got the OG Brig in the house. We've got the driver in the house. Okay, and we're just here, just chilling. And you can phone up, reason with the doctors. You know, you can see very well mannered, very polite. She's not like me, you know, because I'll yam you up if you come up and talk rubbish. So you can speak to her, and you know, she'll break it all down for you. That telephone number is 0705 00 87 426. That gets you live on the Gen 1, and you can ask the doctor to break down whatever you like about the creation. Or, if you're feeling a little shy and you don't want to talk on the air, you can call in and you've got a question on 0374 231 658. That's 0374 231 658. Okay? Alright, and those people that are out there that believe in the Bible and the Quran, come on, you can phone in and defend it, isn't it? Phone in and defend it against the truth. Come on. Or is your Quran unauthentic and rubbish? Or is your Bible just a doorstop? Or defend it? Or shut up? Okay, that live link number is 0705 00 87 426. Alright, I'll give that out again slowly. 0705 00 87 426. That gets you live on the air or off the air. 0374 231 658. Okay, in the meantime, I'll continue to ask the doctor questions while you know, pluck up the courage to phone. Alright. Okay, so like, okay, alright, you know, he said it started off with a nukta. Now, which beings were created first? And how did that come about?
As I said, the nukta was the original creation. Okay, when we say nukta, it just means a dot, a very small piece of matter that actually was responsible for the universe. Okay, to actually comprehend that, you have to really open your mind and see that 76 trillion years ago, for a dot to become the universe, that is the original creation, and that is what your religious books cannot explain, and so they have to stop at Adam and say that everything began there. Okay, as you said, there were beings that existed before Adam and Eve, and they had an origin. Okay, and the original creation, or the primary creation, is actually the creation of the Anunnaki in their essence. Okay, you have beings of the green light that were created. Okay, and they were 9 ether beings. Okay, and they were created out of what we call a state of triple darkness, where there is actually a state of order. Okay, and before the light was born, there was order, and then the light that was born actually gave birth to chaos, and things started to move about, and that's where you have life actually beginning. Okay, so we actually existed in the original creation because our essence is of the same essence of the Anunnaki, which is of the same essence of the Most High, and that is our soul. Okay, and that originated 76 trillion years ago. That's why you have a being here with us now who has that amount of information, 76 trillion years worth of information, and that is Melchizedek, who is teaching through our teacher for us. He's here for us today to know the truth, and all lives will perish, and that day is now. And people have to start realizing that sooner rather than later.
Okay, you mentioned Melchizedek, but people are getting confused nowadays, and a lot of the reggae records and stuff, and I'm making it a bit light, but I mean, they're saying like Melchizedek is like Jesus and Selassie, and equating, because they say Jesus and Selassie are the same thing, and like they're saying it's Melchizedek, Emmanuel, they're throwing all the titles on like one person when they're actually separate. So, and if you could break it down for London City.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, obviously people are confusing these people and trying to mold them into one person. But Melchizedek is a being who is described throughout the scriptures. He's even spoken of in the Quran as well. And he's somebody that actually met up with these people that you're actually mixing the titles with. Yeshua, or who people popularly call the name Jesus, or in Islamic world is known as Isa. He was actually a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. Okay, so now Melchizedek in the book of Genesis 18 verse 1, he is called, or he's given the title the King of Salem. Now if Melchizedek is a king and Yeshua or Jesus was only a high priest after his order, then they cannot be the same person. Melchizedek is a higher order than that person, Jesus or Yeshua. Okay, and if we look at the time period, Yeshua came well after Genesis, and at that point in Genesis 18, Melchizedek was actually in contact with Abraham, and so you can see that Melchizedek is a being that has actually traveled through time. So if the confusion arises because he's actually existed through time, that people should confuse different people like Emmanuel and Haile Selassie just because Melchizedek has existed through time, then you shouldn't do that. He's actually a being that is distinct, that is actually the ruler of all the angelic beings, or all the Anunnaki, or all the elders, whichever term you want to use. He's actually the ruler of that actual collection of beings, that actual council of beings.
So there, yeah, Selassie. So all them rubbish records here with them saying equating Selassie being Melchizedek. The guy's really backward and dunce. You need to come learn something and sit down in one of the classes. Alright? Tell him I said so. 0705 0087426. That gets you live across the capital. That's 0705 0087426. Or if you don't want to go on the air, 0374. I was told I was giving out this too far, so I'll do it slowly. 0374 231 658. And the live link number is 0705 0087426. Okay. Got to send a massive shout out to Moses out there in London City, and also the Goldsmith University massive, and Victoria down at Mensa. Enough respect to you lot, and all of the people locked into the True Light show now. Okay. And if anybody would like to give me a test on the live link, that's 0705 0087426. Be very much appreciated. If the caller that phoned me on my phone would like to call back, 0374 231 658. Okay, we'll continue. Like now, so it didn't take 7 days, and like God rested on the 6th. You think go like that? He just waves his hand, no magic, no puff, no mystical stuff. That didn't happen. No, you sure? No, he didn't just wave his hand and part the Red Sea, and by the click of his fingers, God makes anything happen and can do any old thing. You go like that?
No, I mean, even if you look in the Quran, for example, as another reference book, so-called holy book, but just a religious text, it says Allah or God never slumbers or sleeps. you'll find that in the Quran 255. That's chapter 2, verse 255. So he didn't rest on the first, or for him to rest on the seventh day doesn't make sense in the Quran.
Okay, remember the live link number in the studio, 0705 00 87426. So, with you know, when they say the 7 days of creation, I mean, if it wasn't 7 days, how, you know, I mean, you know, what was the time period? Could you break that down for us?
Creation, as you have it, if you were to look in the books of the New Testament, for example, as a reference, it tells you in the book of 2 Peter 3, verse 7, that one day to the Most High is like 1,000 years. So it wasn't 7 Earth days as we know them now, 23 hours, 56 seconds and minutes and however many seconds. It's actually 1,000 years is equated to one day in your own scriptures. And so for you to, for religious people, be they Christians or whoever, to be under the impression that it took 7 days as opposed to a week in our time, that doesn't add up according to your own book. Okay, so therefore, you know, the creation story that you have in your Bible didn't take 7 Earth days or 6 days, rather 144 hours, as I said before. It actually took a period of 49,000 years. Okay, what actually happened is that what is referred to in your book of Genesis is a reconstruction period. Okay, the word Genesis actually is referring to genealogy, actually the genealogy of man. Okay, that is a Greek word, but we know that the Torah was actually revealed in one of the ancient languages, which is today called Hebrew, but it was originally called ancient Aramic, after one of the sons of Shem. Okay, and the word there was not Genesis, it was Barashith. Okay, and the word Barashith is related to the word bara, which can be understood from the Islamic perspective as one of the attributes or one of the characteristics of Allah or the Most High. But simply for translation of the word, it means to make. Okay, it doesn't mean to create. Okay, the word create means to actually bring something into existence that didn't actually exist before. Okay, so if I create something, it hadn't existed prior to my creating it. If I make something, which is what Genesis is actually talking about, I'm actually forming or fashioning something that had already existed. Okay, so you're actually forming and fashioning and shaping something. So if for example, I was making a cake, it already exists, I know what it is, and for me to make it, it's in the image of a cake that has existed before, for want of a more elaborate example. Okay, so that is what's actually occurring in your Bible in the book of Genesis. And if you were to look for more clues in that book, you'll find in chapter 1 verse 127 the word replenish. Okay, and that again is coming back to the word bara, because the word that you find there for replenish is bara, which means to replace or to make or to refill something that wasn't there, that was originally there. So when you replenish some cranberry juice in a glass, it meant that you drunk the cranberry juice, it was finished, and you had to put some back or replenish it. Okay, and that is what is occurring there. Okay, so there are actually people on the planet that were destroyed as a result of the meteorite shower that occurred, and scientists can verify that there were 3 meteorite showers, the first one being 17,250,000 years ago, the second being 2,250,000 years ago. Okay, so these things can be researched. We were talking about dinosaurs earlier on. What actually happened is that the dinosaurs were actually dominating the planet, and they were actually persecuting the human beings that were living there. And this was an imbalance. This wasn't supposed to happen as a result of evolution. So the Anunnaki actually decided to wipe out 2/3 of the planet, including the dinosaurs. And there were actually 13 tribes that existed on our planet before that time that were actually wiped out by this meteorite shower. And there were only 3 tribes that survived. That they were the Kuthite tribe, which you would know as the Dogons from Mali, or the Pygmy tribe. Also the Kuthite tribe, which are your Hindus. And the third tribe was the Watusi tribe. Okay, so those are three tribes that survived. They actually survived by the knowledge that they had of the center of the earth, and they actually went to Argata, which is the world within our world. Okay, we're not just surface people, there are actually beings that live within our planet as well. These are things that we have to open our minds to, because many cultures actually have this in their culture, in their books, in their fables and stories, and they're not simply mythological stories, they have a basis in fact. Okay, so they had knowledge of this, and they went to these inner caverns, they went behind waterfalls, and they were able to exist there until the condition on the planet was suitable for them to come back up and start again and replenish the earth, as it says in your book, Genesis 1:27.
Okay, that live link number in the studio is 0705 0087 426. That's 0705 0087 426. Okay, remember, if you're out there and you're in your faith, it's being scrapped now, so you should defend it or stop doing it, because you're not being really fair to your children and yourselves. Okay, so you know, basically that means the Bible's in the bin and the Quran's in the bin and all the stories are in the bin, you know, and you're listening and you're not going to defend it. I wouldn't do that. I would phone in and defend my faith. Okay, remember the telephone number in the studio is 0705 0087 426. And if there's any points you'd like to pick up on and the doctor is breaking down, you can do so. Or if you're feeling a little shy, okay, we have a secretary in the studio, Secretary Driver, OG Briggy. You know, you can call in on 0374 231 658. That's 0374 231 658. In the meantime, I'll continue to ask questions on your behalf, because I know maybe you're used to the church thing and banging the table, praise the Lord, and yeah, and somebody telling you some nonsense. So I'll ask questions because it's about questions. Okay, hang on. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. You're live on Genesis. Go ahead. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Are you know, you can try. Try again. 0705 0087 426. You know, what happened to Curtis, man? Were you the Curtis? You not following up today? Oh dear. Oh dear, dear, dear. Curtis, where are you? Curtis from East London. Phone him, man. Alright. Live link number in the studio 0705 0087 426. Alternatively 0374 231 658. Okay, well, since you don't ask something, I'll ask. So, let's go up on what they know. Like in Genesis, when it says God created man and what have you. I mean, was that the origins of man at that point there, or you know, can you like, you know, break down the origins of man?
The origins of man, again, it goes back to the original creation. Okay, we have an origin not only on this planet but outside of this realm as well. Okay, that's where you get the idea that when angels come here, where have they come from? Okay, they give you concepts that they have wings, and they show you little fat cupids with little wings that probably wouldn't even carry their body anyway, but they're implying that they've flown here from outside of our atmosphere. Now, the whole concept of them flying with wings through our atmosphere cannot make sense either, because birds don't fly through our atmosphere into outer space. They won't be able to survive. Okay, they'll have a, be having an adverse reaction on their body by going through the atmosphere into outer space, and there's no air there, so they won't be able to do it. So basically, we have origins from the stars, the heavens, you know, that place up there in the sky is basically talking about the constellations that we come from. Okay, even in your New Testament, it gives you the Greek translation of heaven as the word Uranus, and there's a constellation in the skies that is called the Orion constellation. It's a 7-star constellation. If you go to any astronomy book, they'll be able to show you the configuration of the stars in that constellation and how it looks. And it has a belt that lines up with the 3 major pyramids in Egypt. Okay, so we have origins, and even, you know, outside of this realm, and even in the book of Genesis, chapter 2, it tells you that we are the generations of the heaven and the earth. Okay, so not only did we evolve here on this planet, but we have actual interactions with, or we have our genes actually come from the stars, from beings that come from other galaxies, and so they are actually responsible for replenishing the earth through their actual making of the Adamites. Okay, now you have this person called Adam. Okay, but they're telling you that he's the first man, and all other tribes came from him. But the word Adam is actually the word Ha-Adama in the original Aramaic Hebrew. Okay, and Ha means the, and Adam is referring to the Adamites. So it's talking about a tribe of people. Okay, and they were actually procreated by the Anunnaki or the Riskians when they actually came here. They actually crashed. They were actually looking for minerals to take back to their own planet, and our planet is abundant in minerals that they needed, so they came here, and they actually had an accident and they crashed here, and they set up 7 cities in Iraq and 7 cities northwest of the Arabian Sea, and basically it was there that they actually genetically engineered us. They actually used the evolutionary man here, and that's why we say we have origins on this earth, where we have a womb deity to actually give birth to the new being, which was the Adamites. Okay, and the reason why they wanted to create this new being was that they were able to help the Anunnaki, who became lazy, to actually mine these minerals that they came here for in the first place. And they call that being a Lulu Amilu, or a primitive worker. Okay, and they went to places like South Africa, which was originally known as Monadappa, and they mined the gold that they needed to repair their planet's atmosphere. These are all found in the ancient tablets, where you see words like the Anunnaki and beings like Enki and Enlil. So for you to familiarize yourself with these characters, with these beings, we recommend that you read and research these ancient tablets, and these books are available that you can actually purchase from shops.
Okay, remember the bookstores I gave around and about the capital down Brixton and Harlesden, and available at any fraternity around about the capital. For further inquiries, you can call me on 0374 231 658, and I'll give you the information on where to purchase the right information, if not for yourself, for your children. Okay, the live link number in the studio is 0705 0087 426. I can't believe it, I got it earlier time. You used to phone and say, "Oh, Rebel, you're so late, man. You know, I was on 1 till 3. Now I'm on 11 till 1. Gone through this trouble to bring doctors in the house, and you lot don't even phone? Come on, 0705 0087 426. Oh, come on. There must be somebody out there who's strongly believes in his face, and there it is. It's just been dismantled in your face. Come on. Come on, all those people that put down HTM, United Nuwaubian Nation of Moors, on the concepts of extraterrestrials and what the master teacher is teaching. Where are you? Where are you? Come and defend yourselves. Go ahead, caller. You're live on Genesis. Okay, this is still there for you.
Okay, I'll explain the 99 attributes. Basically, you have the being, the Most High, having various different characteristics. Okay, you'll find that in your scriptures. You'll find it in the ancient tablets. Okay, it didn't originate in the Quran or in the Bible. Okay, he has the ability to create, so he's called the Creator, or Al-Khaliq. or he has the ability to be merciful, so he's called El Malik, or sorry, Rahman, sorry, getting the words wrong now. But basically, attributes of anybody are just their character, just sides of their character that they exhibit. So I could be conscientious, I could be called the conscientious one, or I could be faithful and called the faithful one. Your name is Iman, so that's what your name means, faith. So that is a title or attribute of yourself, or something that you want to aspire to. Okay, when we say 99, or we say that the Creator has 91 characteristics or attributes, and that relates to what we're created from, the 99 elements. Okay, we have all the elements of creation within us, and so we have that character or those characteristics within our makeup as well. And so we are in the image and the likeness of the Creator, who has those 99 attributes.
I hope that answers your question, sis. All right. The live link number, okay, 0705 00874426. I don't know if you could have heard the question, but if anybody could phone and just give us a little check here so we can get it right. That's 0705 00874426. I don't know if you actually heard the question that the sister phoned in and asked. Okay, so can you give us a check, help us out in here, right? Alright, if you don't want to go live with a question, 0374 231 658. That's 0374 231 658. Okay, that gets you live across the Gen 1. Alright. So basically, alright, the Bible's been fabricated and the creation story is not true, basically, and it's like just misleading the people, right? I mean, how can this continue to keep on happening out there? I mean, why are the people then still holding on to this mythological story, when it doesn't relate to nothing that is reality in our lives?
Okay, the reason for that is our whole purpose here, which is to help break the spell. Okay, because logical thinking, adding 2 and 2 together to make 4, is absent when you get into these religious concepts. All logic just escapes people's minds when it comes to looking at things and analysing things in the Bible, or in the Quran, or in the Mishnah, or in the Talmud, or whichever religious book you actually read and follow. People have to be aware that we're just believing in things. Belief is not enough. People are just having faith in things. That's not enough when it comes to having knowledge that you're living your life by and passing on to your children. We have to be responsible with ourselves, responsible with our souls, and the mistranslations that you have in these books are misguiding us and jeopardizing, your own salvation, if you want to use a word like that. So people are holding on to this because of the spell. It's brain dirt so much with religion and miseducation and the media and various other forms. And they're very, very powerful forces. These are 6 ether forces, and they are very strong, and they're reinforced by people reading these concepts and believing in them, and it's not getting us anywhere.
Alright, you mentioned ethers, right? And you mentioned ethers before, and ghost creation. Now, can you explain the difference between 9 ether and 6 ether?
Okay.
Okay, now let's see. We're gonna take this live link, right? Okay, yeah, we got it now. Okay, go ahead, caller. You're live on Genesis.
Yeah, respect, brethren. My name is Danny from East London. And I've been listening to this program for a few weeks now. And respect to the daughter who speak. It's a long time that the daughter speaks a conscious.
Yeah.
I want to find out what is the destiny to black people.
What the destiny for
yeah, what is our fate with this new inspiration we're receiving now?
Sorry, she didn't catch that last bit. Could you repeat your question, bruv? Yeah, could you repeat your question?
Yeah. Our destiny as a people. What what did I just say? In the Bible, Revelation speaks coming of the Bible says Jesus is going to come, and
yes, brother.
You know.
Yeah. So what are you trying to say? What
I'm saying is, Virgin, is that as a race of people, right? That this.
So we're having problems with this phone line. Just bear with us, yeah? You're saying what is the destiny of us as a people?
Yeah,
is that your
as
question?
a nation.
Okay, when you say nation, yes, we are a nation because our title is the United Nuwaubian Nation of Moors. Okay, we have our identity now. We have our own language. We have our own land. We have a constitution. We are a country and a nation, and functioning fully as a nation. And our future is bright. Our future is very successful. You know, we want people to be at their full potential, and the best way for people to do that is with right knowledge and right thinking, because our brains have been dirty with all this misinformation, and now we have the facts. Now we can verify for ourselves that we have the truth, and that is cleaning up our mind, okay? Brainwashing us, because our brains have been dirted, like I said, with all this information that's just really garbage, okay? And we have to ask you to sit back and really know that for yourself, that what we have been fed is misinformation, okay? Once we are all meditating on the same information, once we have all that right information in our heads, that will unite us, because we're not divided into the different religions, and then within those religions the different denominations, and it goes on and on and on. We're united by the information that we have, and that information is right and it's positive, and then from then we will function as a unified people and be a successful nation. So our future is bright. But for those that don't adhere to the time, people that don't want to realize the time we're in and choose to ignore that supreme being that is here with us now, okay, because like all of his predecessors, all of the great leaders and all the prophets that predate Nea Malachi Zadok Yorko Maku, it's always been said, I come to my own and my own receiveth me not. So those that will listen to the Lamb and you know, follow what he's saying and apply what he's saying, they will be successful. And that is just the nature of things. And it does tell you that in your scriptures. When you mention Revelation, you're right in doing that, because that's talking about prophecy, even though it uses a lot of metaphors and a lot of things that people find difficult to interpret. And that again is down to mistranslation, to misguide people, and just to basically confuse people. But yes, there will be a time when there will be no more tears and no more sorrow, as it says in the 22nd chapter of that book. Okay, so our future is bright because we have a guide who is guiding us aright, and all we need to do is just listen. He's given us all the tools to help ourselves. He's shown us the instructions. He's given us an instruction manual, over 400 instruction manuals on how to use those tools. It's only for us to pick up those tools, put a little bit of positive energy into using them and building the future for ourselves. And those that have, you know, heard this information before you now are doing it. We have people that are right now building on our land, okay, and raising a nation. The children are positive. They're speaking our language. You know, they're dynamic, and you know that's where the future's at. This system or this world is dying, and it tells you that in that book again. It says that, you know, how the mighty have fallen, and that is happening now. And you know, like I said, we're moving into a new age. And for those to listen to what the master teacher is saying, they will be successful.
Okay, brother, I hope that answers your question, all right? Live link number in the studio is 0705 00 87426. You see how easy that was? The brother phoned up, asked, you know, what is our destiny as a people? Enough respect for that. Simple things and a simple answer. Plain and simple. All right, live link number in the studio is 0705 00 87426. You know, I didn't have to do this tonight. I don't have to do this never. You know, it's for your own benefits, because, you know, I know what's right for myself, because I took time out to look. So you can call in and, you know, put across your questions, because there must be 100 questions you have in your mind, and maybe, you know, you're going to feel shy or whatever. We're calling on the other line, 0374 231 658. We're going to take this live link. Go ahead, caller, you're live on Genesis.
Hello, this is Iman again. I wanted to know Because I've heard about, I don't know about, on the Millennium Society and also the Malachi New York book. And today, while reading another one of Malachi New York's books, I realized that her symbol, you know, the symbol of the Theosophical Society, it's quite similar to the HCM symbol. Can you explain the similarity?
Did the book not explain the similarity or the difference?
No, not really. Because I was reading through, really.
To be honest, I can't answer your question because I haven't read the book that you're referring to. But, you know, what you have to remember is that a lot of the symbols that these secret societies use are symbols that have been derived and, you know, manipulated and copied from the ancient symbols of the Sumerians, the ancient Egyptians, and various other civilizations that we, our people, have been part of. Okay, so they choose to take our stuff, reverse it, and claim it as their own. By us being in a state of ignorance, we don't know any better and accept it as their symbol. So if their symbol is similar to ours, it's because they have plagiarized our symbol and not the other way around.
Okay. Could you explain to me about underground cities? And are there any underground cities in England?
Okay, there are underground cities all over the world. Okay, when you say underground cities, they'll either be cities or they'll be bases where various things will be taking place. There'll be various experimentation processes going on, or there'll be people actually residing there. If you refer to the Master Teacher's book, Mission Earth and the Extraterrestrial Involvement, it'll give you a breakdown of all the different levels of these underground cities and the different types of beings that actually inhabit these places. You have various beings from other constellations that have come to this planet to do, you know, to carry out their missions to either take over the planet or, you know, for just a place to live because their own planet had died. So you have reptilian type beings that are disagreeable. They are Luciferians, and they're responsible for the music that our people are listening to. They're responsible for their television. They're responsible for a lot of the disagreeable forces that are very dominant in this society that our people are influenced by. And they have their underground cities. They have one under the Atlantic, which is referred to as a Bermuda Triangle, but isn't actually simply that. It's actually an underground base. Because of the magnetic energy around it, it causes planes to drop down, or they may deliberately pull down planes so they can experiment on these people or actually use them as food because they are actually cannibalic beings. They actually eat human flesh. There are other beings. You have the Sasquatch being, the Bigfoot. Again, they say that this being doesn't exist, and they make fun out of it and put television programs like Bigfoot and Henderson's out to fictionalize it. But it's actually a being that does exist, and it came from a constellation called Sirius B, and they resided in a mount called Mount Seir, and so they are known as the Syrians, and they actually have their own underground bases and cities in different parts of the world, particularly places like the Carolinas and California. Various different beings have underground cities. The caverns that some of these beings dwell in can be turned to cities, and there are various different subterranean tribes. For example, the Terrace tribes, which are your coneheads. They are a set of beings that live within the earth. You have the Duanis, which are very small troll-like beings. You have the Deros. You have the Dunakil. You have various different species of beings that live within our Earth's crust and within the center of the Earth in the world that we referred to earlier as Agartha, which means through the hole. Now, like I said, various societies talk about trolls that come out from holes that are bottomless pits. You know, different parts of Africa talk about the Asians, for example, the Chinese people have in their books reference to Shambhala and Agartha. The Scandinavians have their fairies and their subterranean beings as well. So there are various societies that admit in their traditions that there are beings that live within our earth, and even your Bible, again, I refer to that as a reference. In the book of Revelation 5:3, it tells you that not only are there beings that reside above and on the earth, but also in the earth, and that's something that you can just look in. It's very simple to find at the back of your Bible.
So that place Shambhala, is that what they're referring to as hell? You know, religious terms?
Yeah, it is actually, because when you're in church or at school, they'll tell you that you're going to go down there, you're going to go down to hell, and they'll refer to a place being down below where people will burn. Okay, and by referring to somewhere underneath your feet where there'll be fire, they're actually admitting that there is something underneath us where people will go, and they're actually referring to the central sun within our planet, which obviously if anybody was to come in contact with, they would burn. So they're actually admitting that there is a central world. Okay, but what is hellish about it would be that that there are aggressive beings that live down there. They're the Luciferians that we mentioned before, the reptilians who eat human flesh, and they will give anybody hell that goes down there, if they see you as food.
All right, the live link number in the studio is 0705 0087426. Come on, this information must be fresh to a lot of you. All right, 0705 0087426. All right, don't feel shy. Or alternatively, you can call off ear, all right, on 0374 231 658. That's 0374 231 658. Okay. Look, this. Are you lot dumbfounded? Or what? I mean, even those of you with the regular run-of-the-mill religion, come on, man. It's been binned. What you saying? You got nothing to say? All right. We got a live link. We're gonna take this live link. Go ahead, caller. You're live on Genesis.
Yeah, hi. I'm from South London. Basically, my question is, why is there white people? Why is there black people? Why is there Asians? Why is there so many races, and where have they come from?
Okay, sis.
Okay, I'll do my best to give you a full answer to that question.
Okay.
Basically, like we've said, our planet is not the only planet that has life. We're a tiny dot on the edge of a very large galaxy that has has a lot of stars that are just like our sun. And so we have to admit that we're very arrogant to assume that we're the only life on this planet. Okay. Now, referring to the different races, there have always been, referring to white people, there have always been albino versions of any species. You'll find that in the animal kingdom, you'll find it in the human race, you'll find it in other beings from other galaxies and other constellations. And they are recessive beings in the sense that their genes manifest the recessive version of our genes. So that comes out as their skin being melanin recessive. They have a lack of melanin in their skin. Their hair obviously lacks melanin as well. Their eye color lacks melanin, so that gives rise to blonde-haired, blue-eyed beings with pale skin, pale opaque skin. And we call those beings ghosts because they are the death of six ether, and they have been derived from graftations, genetic graftations from the Hindu beings who are the six ether beings, and they are melanin dominant beings like us. Okay, they're actually the original black man in the sense that their seed is black rather than brown. Okay, our seed, the Riskians, our skin tone was originally green, but from coming into this atmosphere and adapting to the way that our atmosphere is, our melanin has actually changed from being green to brown through a process of rusting, where you have oxygen actually oxidizing the pigment and causing it to go brown from its original state of green. Okay, so I mean, basically the reason why I'm taking this angle on answering your question is because there's a lot of racism in religions, and we are not a racist organization, we're not extremists, we present the facts. Okay, and that the different races on this planet originate from various different constellations. Even your so-called pale man or Caucasian, they actually have origins in the stars as well as us. Okay, but they are from recessive beings that are the albino version of the Riskians or whichever race that they originated from. Okay, now, like I said, we ourselves, Nubians or Nuwaubians, we originate from the stars as well as from here. We have evolutionary man that contribute to our genetic makeup, as well as the angelic beings or the Anunnaki or the Riskians, whichever word you want to use. The Caucasian race, we have to be we have to define who the Caucasians are, because it's a very important point that I have to make. The only Caucasians that exist are those blonde-haired, blue-eyed pale people. Any other so-called white person or European, as they like to call them, they are not Caucasians unless they have blonde hair, blue eyes, they come from the Caucasus region or Scandinavia, they were born there and they reside there. Otherwise they are not Caucasians, because Caucasian is referring to a region on the planet Earth. If they're not nationals of that region, then they are not Caucasians. If they're not blonde haired, blue eyed, then they are not Caucasians. Otherwise, those other pale people have mixed in with us, which gives them their brown hair or brown eyes, or they are actually grafted from another set of beings. For example, the Hopi Indians grafted a being that was red-haired and green-eyed, and they are called the Bahamo. And you find that a lot of Irish people had those sort of characteristics. But you know, it's a deep subject. A lot of the original settlers in this country were actually Nuwaubians, and that's where we come to the point that we are Moors. We're not just black people. You know, we have a heritage, and in any legal document between the Moorish Empire and the Americans and the British and the Spanish, we are actually identified as Moors there. That's referring to our nationality as well as our racial origins. And so certain tribes like the Celtics were black people, they were Moors. And so if you know anybody that says that they're of Celtic descent, they often have black hair and black eyes. They are not Caucasians, they are mulattoes. And you know, they have our genes within them.
You know, when you said the other stars, are you talking about other planets?
Yeah, other planets, other galaxies, other solar systems outside of our solar system, either in our galaxy or in other galaxies within our universe. The universe is heavily populated. Don't be under the impression that it's just us here, because we're just one tiny little planet in one tiny little solar system, in one tiny little galaxy, in one very big universe.
Where do you get this information from? Are you getting this from these tablets that you've been talking about?
You can get it from the tablets, you can get it from the various other books that our teacher's written. He's written, as I said, over 400 books. Okay, you'll be able to research this information if you look hard enough in the right places. There are specialist bookshops that talk about these beings. You know, if you were a scientific-minded person, you'll be able to you know, from your own reasoning and experience and logic and evidence, know that if there are, our sun is called a main sequence star, okay, and there are many stars like our sun, and they are called sun-like stars because they are like our sun, okay, and our sun was responsible for the planets that revolve around it, okay. That's the evolution of our solar system, and if there are many suns like our own sun, then their solar systems would have evolved in a similar way to our solar system did, and that was through sun flares, where actual sun flares from the sun's surface actually were thrown off from the sun's surface and became solid matter that cooled down and became smooth and spherical, like our planet is like a sphere. Okay, so all planets were formed from our sun. So if there are other suns in our galaxy that are like our sun, then they would have had planets formed in the same way, and evolution would have occurred on those planets in a similar way to the way they did on our planet. And even in our solar system, there are other planets that have life. Just because they are different distances away from the sun doesn't mean that there isn't life on them, because anybody that studied biology knows that there are certain organisms that can survive without breathing oxygen. They survive by the reverse. They breathe using carbon dioxide, or they survive using different gases completely. So different beings can exist in different environments. Okay, but it's a myth that our planet is the only planet with life on it, and that's just the bottom line.
Okay, thanks. That was fascinating. Thanks for breaking that down.
Well, I wouldn't like to just leave it as fascinating. I'd encourage you to research it if you don't research things like that already.
You know these books you're talking about, I think one of the authors is Dr. York, yeah?
Sorry?
Is there any other books by any other authors that are not with the Moors?
Yeah, there are many books. You know, I mean, there's a wealth of books. There's a popular saying, the best way to keep the truth from a black man or woman is to put it in a book. You know, a lot of these things are researchable. You know, our teacher has done a lot of extensive research himself, not only research, but the information that he has, you know, through him but these things can be researched by you. You can look in encyclopedias, you can look in science books. You know, the information is out there. I can refer you to a lot of different places to find these books in.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay?
Right, bye.
All right, take care.
Live link number in the studio 0705 0087426. Okay, we just had Moses on the line, and Moses wanted to know if you could break down anything on the Millennium Meltdown with the computers. I don't know, something outside of the subject, but and also how does Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dolph Lundgren, Jean-Claude Van Damme relate to the birth of the devil, something like that.
The Millennium Meltdown. To be honest, I don't claim to be an expert on this topic. There's other people in the tabernacle that can answer this question better than I can, and I encourage you to get your answers by coming to our question answer classes that we hold every week. We have Sunday class and Wednesday class. Rebel's giving you the addresses and the telephone numbers, but to the best of my ability is just showing you that their system is failing, that they didn't plan for the failure of their system, you know, and it's working against them now. You know, their whole society is functioning on a network, and that network is crumbling basically, and that is, you know, a very serious part of their society, you know, so it's destined to happen. You know, from what I know, what I've researched, it's not a reversible thing that's happening with this computer meltdown, you know, with the fact that they haven't timed their databases for the year 2000. You know, it's irreversible. They're beavering away trying to reverse it, but it's not going to happen. It's just beyond repair now, and that is just showing you that, you know, their time is actually over. You know, the Luciferians and everything that they've been trying to do has come to an end now. They've run out of time, and it's our time, and we're actually doing it. We're actually building our future, and we have what we need to be successful in the future. And so, you know, it might be humorous or amusing for people to watch this going on, but don't just be a bystander. Take part and be active. Just trying to remember the other question. Okay, yeah, these people are actually the 13 sons of the beast that were born in 1966. Okay, and so they were actually, you know, part of the 13 sons of the devil that was born in 1966.
Okay. Live link number in the studio is 07 05 0087426. Alright? The sister don't bite. I'll bite you if you come and talk nonsense, but sister don't bite, and she's here to take your questions, alright? 07 05 0087426. That gets you live on Gen 1. Or alternatively, the Feeding Shy, like the brother Moses did, phoned in on the other line on 0374 231 651. We're going to take this live. God calling you live on Genesis.
Hello, this is Iman. I wanted to know, so let's just touch this now on the fact that the computers aren't equipped to go past the year 2000. So I wanted to know if that computer, which is known as the Beast, is put to function from the year 2000 onwards.
Is it equipped to function from the year 2000 onwards?
Yeah.
I don't know of the depths of that topic, to be honest. I did say that I'm not an expert on the topic. I haven't read all the information on it, so just as a student, I'm still learning, so there's things that I can't answer. But I mean, like we've said, you know, the computer systems have been programmed up to a certain limit, and they've realized that it won't go beyond the year 2000, according to, you know, what I know, what I've read. And so, you know, the Beast computer, the IBM 666 computer that is linked to one of the 13 sons of the Beast, that is, as far as I know, the main frame computer all the others are linked to. And so that, you know, by logic, I would assume that it wouldn't work beyond the year 2000, but that's not, I don't know if that's right. So I'd recommend that you read the book Leviathan 666, or the year 2000, What to Expect, both authored by Maku, the Supreme Grand Master Teacher.
Okay, live link number in the studio is 0705 0087 Okay, that gets you live on the Gen 1. 0705 0087 alright? And if there's no questions, I'll just quickly read out where question and answer classes are around and about the capital. Okay, we go North London. You can phone in and disturb me when you're ready, there's no problem. Unit 20.7, Aberdeen Studios. You know why I'm doing this? Because when I finish, I'm going to say, you know, I try my best to tell you, and you know, it's up to you whether you accept it or not, but my conscience will be free. Alright, Unit 20.7, Aberdeen Studios, the Aberdeen Centre, 22 to 24, Highbury Grove. That's Unit 20.7, Aberdeen Studios, Aberdeen Centre, 22 to 24, Highbury Grove, Islington, N5. Telephone number down there, 0171 226 0928. Class is held every Sunday between the hours of 4 and 7:30, and Wednesday between the hours of 7 and 10. Alright, and then we have a bookstore, Unit 11, Indoor Market, 231 Seven Sisters Road. That's Tottenham N15. Okay, telephone number down there, 0181 809 0284. Okay. Also, the Simba Centre, that's 237 to 239 Uxbridge Road, Shepherd's Bush, W12. Class is held every Sunday between the hours of 7 and 10, Wednesday between the hours of 6:30 and 9. Also, each and every Monday, okay, that's at the Albany Empire, between Deptford High Street and Watson Street, that's down in Deptford. Alright, the Albany Empire, room 21. Question and answer classes between the hours of 7 and 10, and if you want to see me, I'll be down there on Mondays. Alright, that's each and every Monday at the Albany Empire on Deptford High Street, between Watson Street and Deptford High Street. Alright, pronto at 7 o'clock we start there. Also, at Unit 25, that's the Eurolink Business Centre. I'm going to tell you exactly where that is now. That's, you've got the fridge in Brixton, you've got St Matthew's Church in the middle, and on the left-hand side, if you're near the town hall kind of thing, you have the Eurolink Business Centre. That's at 49 Effer Road. Alright, Brixton, SW2. Telephone number down there, 0171 733 4045. Okay, class is held between the hours of 3:15 and 6:15 on a Sunday, and on Wednesday between the hours of 7 and 9:30. We're going to continue with the question and answer forum right now, okay? Live link number in the studio, 0705 0087 426. I'll give out the rest of the question and answer classes towards the end of the show. Alright, that's 0705 0087 426. Alright, don't feel shy. You know, call in, your questions will get answered. If they can't, you know, God that can. Alright. Now we're going to continue with the creation now. So, alright, you're saying it started off with a nukta. I mean, I was reading in the tablets about a big son called Aum or something like that. Could you like incorporate that, or where that fits into the story?
Obviously, from the beginning, you have 76 trillion years ago, where the universe began to grow and expand. Okay, now we mentioned that there are actually 19 galaxies within this universe. Okay, those galaxies actually originated from larger planets that were revolving around an enormous sun called Sol. Okay, and one of those 19 planets revolving around Sol was called Aum. Okay, and that planet actually was shot further into the universe when the sun's soul actually exploded, and that gave birth to the galaxies that you have. And obviously our sun was part of that galaxy that came out of Om, and that's how our solar system became born. So from our sun, which was actually created by two atoms of hydrogen actually fusing to form helium, that actually developed a whole chemical process of hydrogen converting into helium and then back from helium into hydrogen. So you have our sun burning energy because of this chemical process going on. So actually 554 million tons of hydrogen actually burn to form 550 million tons of helium. That is how our sun actually emits light and energy now. Okay, and the extra 4 million tons of hydrogen is actually the sun flares that fly off from the surface of the sun. Okay, now what you have as a part of the nature of these solar bodies, these celestial bodies, is sunspots, and these sunspots are caused by energy from the sun actually flying off and forming the planets. Okay, so sunspots occur because of this, and the energy itself is actually matter, and that matter is thrown out into the vicinity of the sun and caught in a gravitational pull, and actually falls into its own orbit around the sun. That's why you have the various planets around our sun at strategic points along our solar system, and they're actually originally 12 planets. One of the planets that is no longer there was called Meldek, and that is a planet that actually had beings that resided on there of a reptilian nature. They were actually reptilian beings that resided there, and the tablets explains about how Nibiru, the planet ship Nibiru, actually caused that planet to be thrown out of our solar system by accident. Scientists can actually verify that our solar system isn't complete because of the mass of our planet relating to the sun, and that there was actually planets that originally were in our solar system that are no longer there. One of those other planets is Nibiru itself, which actually makes up the full complement of the planets around the solar system.
Okay, so this Nibiru now, do you know its whereabouts and when it's going to come back into our solar system?
Nibiru is expected at the year 2000 to actually come into our asteroid belt. Nibiru itself is a planetoid ship, meaning that it's something that was constructed so it's artificial, but it's able to support life, and it's actually 3.5 to 4 times the size of planet Earth now. So for Nibiru to actually come into the Earth's atmosphere is impossible. It's too big, so it will actually come as far as the asteroid belt. Then it will dispatch smaller ships called Shams that will come to collect those raised elite beings that the Supreme Grand Master Teacher is here to raise, and then they will be groomed and they will be brought back here to actually do the work to establish the new kingdom here on this planet. That's what they falsely call the rapture.
Okay, praise the Lord and all the rest of it. The rapture. Okay, we're gonna take this live link. Go ahead, caller, you're live on Genesis.
Hello, Simran. I wanted to know what's the difference between HCM and the ancient mystic order of Melchizedek.
The difference between HTM stands for the Holy Tabernacle Ministries, and that's one of the names that our organisation is known by the public, and it actually deals with the 360 degrees of physical information that we have in our books, in our mainstream books for all of our people we encourage them to be read, or we encourage our people to read those books, and they're dealing with the 360 degrees of physical information, breaking the spells of religion, the educated diction or education as they call it, the media, and all the things that are affecting our people that have put them under the spell. That's what HTM is dealing with. We prefer to be called UNNM, which is the United Nuwaubian Nation of Moors, because that is our identity now as a nation and as a functioning nation. The ancient mystic order of Melchizedek is the spiritual order. That is the order that's dealing with the information about our true selves, our true identity, which is the soul, which is the self. It's dealing with, you know, how we can, you know, stop being so preoccupied with our physical beings and remember that you know, our true identity is within. And that's what we should recognize in all our brethren, the fact that we all come from the same source, we all come from all. And that source is the Most High. So that's what the ancient mystic order of Melchizedek is actually dealing with. And there are various different orders within there are various different stages that you go within that order that I can only discuss with other Amon members. It's not something that is public for us to talk about. It's something that we keep sacred.
Secret, sacred information. That's for sure. But this information that you're getting now, not a problem. It's available to everyone. You can call in the studio. Further inquiries on 0705 00 87426. We're going to take this live link. Go ahead, caller, you're live on Genesis.
Okay, when you become a member of the United Nuwaubian Nation of God, does that mean you're now a member of Amon as well?
No, the Amon membership is separate. I must say that all people are encouraged to join Amon because that is where the real growth takes place. Okay, that is, you know, that is the higher information. Okay, and that is a real test of people's you know, consistency and strength to actually perfect themselves. Okay, but you know, people can join Amon. We have adverts at the back of our books advertising the link between you and your etheric parents to align yourself with them. Okay, so anyone that feels who gravitates towards that is encouraged to join. But the Master Teachers open the doors of Amon to all, so that everyone can have the chance to, you know, to make that change, make that transition. Okay, but what you'll find is that for someone on the outside of the nation to be a member of Amon, they'll find it very lonely and they'll eventually gravitate towards the nation. And basically you need the two halves of the sphere to make yourself complete. 360 degrees of physical information applies to us because we are still in a physical form and we reside on the physical realm, so we need that information. But at the same time, you mustn't forget the spiritual information, and so the two combined gives you 720 degrees, which makes you a whole person. So you can't have one without the other. And so there'll be a point when the two halves meet, and so that what is above and what is below meet at the same level.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, live link number in the studio, 0705. We've got, you know, 10 more minutes. That's all you got. You think, I should have asked the question, right? You've got 10 more minutes. 0705 00 87426. That's 0705 00 87426. Alternatively, if you're feeling too shy to go live, we can talk to us on 03 74 231 658. That's 0374 231 658. You know, I don't know with you people. I mean, what more do you want me to do, huh? What more do you want me to do? You've got the chance now to ask questions about, you know, any subject about the creation that you want to know. You know, you can ask. You know, get the right answers for once. For once. All right, that's 0705 00 87426. Okay, go ahead, caller, you're live on Genesis. Sorry?
Hello, can you hear me?
Your name is?
My name is Effie from Peckham.
Okay, bro.
Okay, yeah. My question for the sister is, these ancient tablets, namely the Alina Alif and Epics of Gilgamesh,
everything in the Revelation is meaning the mark of the beast, the beast out of the sea, and everything like that, because it seems like I've heard a lot of information from Doc here, but I don't know much about these tablets. I know they exist, but I don't know whether, I want to know whether the actual tablets have this information, or whether Doc's taking this information from the
tablets.
Revelation.
Okay, sorry to cut you. The tablets actually cover all of our existence. It covers our past, our present, and our future. Okay, so it does actually go into prophecy. What you've got to remember is the book of Revelation is actually a book that was revealed to a particular person called John, okay, via Melchizedek from Yeshua. So it was actually called the Injil. Okay, so that was actually a scripture of its own that was translated from the Galilean Aramaic, and you know you have the Paul translation that you have now. The tablets themselves were actually from the tablets of destiny, which speak of obviously the original creation 76 trillion years ago, which is before the time that you have in the Bible, and then it exceeds that time as well. Okay, so it covers all information, and the tablets, like I said, it covers more in-depth information on what you'll find in the little scripts that revealed to various people throughout the history that the Bible covers. What I recommend you do is actually try and get a copy of the Holy Tablet so you can see for yourself that it does talk about in more depth our recent history, our future. It talks about our teacher. It talks about, obviously it's a translation of the ancient tablets as well, so you can have a full grounding of where we've come from and who we really are, what our future holds, and how to, make good use of our time now.
Okay. But the reason I asked that is because I watched this program on TV called Unauthorized Biography of the Devil.
Right.
It came on TV, and he mentioned these tablets.
Okay.
Actually, he's talking about the devil and blah blah blah, and yeah, it seemed quite interesting because I wanted to know for sure whether these tablets existed, and then it's like confirmation. The show was like confirmation that the tablets existed.
What I recommend you do to confirm for yourself that they existed, to research it for yourself, like we keep saying, don't believe us, check it out for yourself.
Yeah.
Because we can present you with something. If you're skeptical of it, I'm not saying that you are, but the best thing for a skeptic is evidence. So you have to go and do the research for yourself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because the actual show on TV was that sort of confirmation as well. But you're saying that are these tablets found in any museums?
Are they in museums? Yeah. You can go to the British Museum. You'll see the Gilgamesh epics there. You'll see the cuneiform script that they're written in, etc. You'll find the Enumerish there. There are about 26 other ancient Sumerian tablets besides those. Okay,
so what museum is that? The British Museum?
The British Museum, yeah.
Okay, and then lastly, quickly, how long approximately before the birth of Christ were these tablets written?
Sorry? How long
approximately before the birth of Christ were these tablets written?
Thousands of years.
A few thousand years?
No, thousands of years. I'm not being very precise, but I know there's a date, but I can't. It's thousands of years prior to the Bible, and the Bible only covers a period between 6,000 and 10,000 years, and it predates that by thousands of years. Quite a long period of time.
Okay. I appreciate you answering my questions.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Enough respect, my good brother, for your phone call. Okay. All right, we've had two phone calls off air. Okay, we have Kida in East London. He wants, he said that he discovered Clarion in one of the books that the master teacher has written, and he wants a thorough in-depth breakdown on Clarion. I know we strayed off the subject, but the doctor's ready to answer.
To the best of my ability to answer that question, Clarion is a planet that is on the other side of this universe. Okay, to say the other side of this universe, I have to explain that you have something called black holes, which are actually entrances into neighboring universes to our own. Okay, so Clarion is actually behind the sun, where you actually have a black hole, and is in another universe. And it's actually a planet that is like our own, but it's the reverse. So you have a duplicate of yourself on Clarion, but the opposite of yourself. And so, you know, just as a crude example, if you're left-handed, that person is right-handed, but you'll be identical. And if you were to occupy the same space and time, you'll both cease to exist. That's the most I can break down about Clarion.
All right, you got your last like 3 minutes. Okay, you can call in on the live link 0705 0087 426. That's 0705 0087 426 or 0374 231 658. Okay, another question. Moses out there in London City wanted to know how the white man relates to the dog. You know, in like, okay, I think you know what he's trying to get. You know, like in the creation and so on and so forth, and how, you know, white people and dogs relate.
Okay, how Caucasians and dogs relate. Basically, what you have is a practice called bestiality, which is something that people even today are doing. In the Caucasus Mountains, the sons of Canaan were actually finding that they weren't able to procreate because their seed was less potent because they had a low salt level. And so they needed to go down to the Nubian tribes that were not residing in the mountains with them, and they actually abducted and raped the women of those Nubian tribes. And that's where you get a lot of the different sort of Canaanite tribes now that have some of our features and our hair texture, etc. However, their women remained in the Caucasus Mountains, and for them to procreate, they actually carried out this practice of bestiality, and they actually had sexual relations with dogs and animals. And this is where you get the terminology that the dog is man's best friend. It's rather mankind's best friend because of the history that they have with these animals. And you'll actually find photographs showing dog-like people that are excessively hairy in places like Northern Europe and parts of Asia, even India, where they carried out these practices, and the genes are actually quite crudely manifesting in these people, and you'll see that their facial features are actually dog-like, and they have excessive hair, which is called hirsutism. So that is one way that they relate to the dog, and so they actually have some of their genes within them, and you can actually see it in the way that people look now.
Okay, you see, like we're coming to the end. You want to phone now, right? It's 1 o'clock now, right? Go ahead, call it. You're live on the Genesis.
Hi.
Okay, brother, go ahead.
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yeah, what's your name and where you're calling from?
Sorry, my name's Dennis, calling from Hackney.
Okay, brother, Dennis, go on.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Sister, what makes your teacher different from, say, other leaders like Minister Farrakhan, for example?
Okay, the major difference between our teacher and a leader like Farrakhan or any other religious leader is that very thing, that they are religious leaders. Our teacher isn't a religious leader. He's not a fanatical person. He's not a holier-than-thou person that claims to be pure and righteous and not have likes and dislikes. He presents the facts. He's a teacher. He's not just someone that is sensationalized and is on stage performing like Farrakhan. Farrakhan is an extremely good teacher, and he can be very uplifting for a lot of people, but you have to look at what he's saying and whether it's factual and whether it's really the blind leading the blind. Okay, there's a limit to what they can offer our people, and our people want the full deal now. We don't just want half truths. We don't just want racist information or information that isn't positive for us. We want the facts, and that's what we have now. There's no point in sitting and pondering over it. The time is now. It's obvious, and you have to make the decision to step to the truth or just fall by the wayside.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions, brother? Or was that it?
No, that was all I wanted to know.
Okay then.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye.
All right. No picking on Farrakhan, right? Like, okay. We're waiting for the arrival of who's coming up after me. Okay, we got the DJ B coming up after me at 1 o'clock, but there's no sign of him as yet. Where are you, DJ B? Okay. Well, until then, we're going to leave the phone lines open so you can, get your last minute calls in on 0705 0087 87426. All right, and if no, we don't call in, and I'll just put in a tape by the master teacher, and we can relax and listen to him. All right, because I know, like again, dumbfounded, each and every time, just dumbfounded. But you're gonna phone up on Sunday, and you're gonna hear, yes, and I believe this part in the Bible is true, and come on, where are you now? Come on, you know, if I, no. Man, look, you're going to phone up on Sunday with the nonsense again, isn't it? And talk about the Bible and God and Selassie and Jah and Allah. I got to pick on you now. You're going to phone in with your nonsense and talk it another time. Where are you now? When your religion was binned, dumped. Where were you? 0705 0087426, and you can still keep looking on the floor when you see me. Those that know me, look on the floor. Let's keep your eyes on the floor. Down. 0705 0087426 gets you live on the Gen 1. All right, all those people that thought that Marcus Garvey was a prophet and all the rest of it, and you know, this sentimental stuff about where are you? Phone in 0705 0087426. We're going to take this live, I think. Go ahead, caller, you're live on Genesis.
Yeah, my name is Maxine. I live in Lewisham, and what I'd like to know is, where did you find your tablets?
Okay.
Okay. The holy tablets, as I said, is translated from the ancient tablets that were revealed to the ancient Sumerians. The Sumerians were a civilization that predate ancient Egypt. Okay, they lived millions of years ago. Okay, these tablets were revealed to them by the Anunnaki, and they were giving them information about where the Anunnaki came from, their universe, the creation, the solar system. They've given them, a lot of information about, who we are, and basically these tablets have been excavated, and like the caller that called before you rightly said, you can find them in museums, you can go research them. They're actually geologists that have excavated them, and they're trying to translate them into English, and they're having a very hard time because it's not their language and it's not their history. It's their history, it's prehistory, it's our story. It's the mysteries that they don't understand. My story, mysteries. This is where you get confusion in words, and that's where the spell is. The spell is in the spelling, as another great disciple of the Lamb had said on his tape. So, these things are researchable, and, you can investigate it for yourself.
Okay, I hope that answers your question. All right, that's 0705 0087426. We're running on a little extra time because no sign of the DJB, and I ain't playing none of the ads until after the show, so we're just rolling this way. 0705 0087426. Because if not, if you don't phone in and ask questions, you're gonna leave me to have to talk, and you don't like when I talk and speak the truth, whether it's offending or not. You don't like that, so you can phone in and keep me quiet. 0705 0087426 gets you live on the 916. Okay, if not, you're gonna hear me continue to let off. Right now, these people talking about Marcus Garvey being some prophet with his false prophecies of Africa must be free by the year 1983. Now, somebody, tell me what happened, because I heard the one, well, the Babylon time and through a time is two different time. All right, I'm going to be quiet now. 1 minute. Go ahead, caller, here live on Genesis.
Yeah, listen, if DJ Zatu comes in, we'll give it about 5 minutes. Yeah?
All right, DJ. No question, DJ B.
Well, what is it, right now is, not expecting to shine everything, and just keep up the good work, man.
Okay, brother, and I'll see you in a little while.
Yeah, I'll see you in about 10.
All right. I know you're 15, really, isn't it? All right, bro, peace. Okay, live link number in the studio is 0705 0087426. Now, back to what I was saying. Now, the prophecies, what to that? Africa must be free by the year 1983. Explain. All right, we're going to take this live link. I don't know. You put down the phone, all right. Don't feel shy. 0705 07050508742 gets you live on the Gen 1. Go ahead, caller, you're live on Genesis.
Hello, is your organisation, someone told me it's open to anyone of any race, is that correct?
Yes, it's correct.
Oh, right. And you have a meeting at Albany Empire, is that right?
Yeah.
What, room 21 did you say?
That's correct.
Okay, alright, thanks.
No problem. Right, that's right. It's, everybody is welcome, you know, because nobody wins the race in racism. You deal with everybody how they deal with you. Simple things, because you've got devils in all races. I know you didn't like the black devil subject, but there's devils in our race. More in our race. Go ahead, caller, you're live on Genesis.
Yeah, hello. Yes, brother.
What's your name and where you calling from?
Asian Samir is over in Egypt.
Okay, bruv, 1 minute. What's your name, where you calling from?
From Stratton, Owen.
Okay. What's your question?
You said Asian Samir is older than Egypt. I think you got that wrong.
Say that again? Sorry?
The Asian Samir is older than Egypt.
It's older, yes.
You got that wrong because it was first called Egypt, it was first called Kemet. And Kemet made Samaria.
Alright then, okay.
Look, blood, don't worry laugh because I'm playing the bit at the end of the day, yeah? Okay. Hear me out, yeah?
Yeah, say your piece.
Can you hear me saying?
Yeah, I can. Go ahead.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And the next thing, Samaria was mixed up with black, mixed race, and white. And at that time, I don't know about them tablets, yeah? But all I know from my reading, Egypt or Kemet was the place where all the learning starts from, not from Asia or any places there.
Okay, well, I have to clear you up on that. Basically, yeah, when you're using words and names of places, you have a point, because Egypt was only called Egypt by the Hyksos dynasty that went there. The word Egypt comes from the word Egyptos, which is Greek, and means burnt faces. And it was burnt faces for the people that went there that were of a pale race, because when
I don't go into all that.
So let me answer your question, because you said your piece. It's only fair.
The geological place it came from, right, is in Africa, not Asia. I can't chat too long. I listen to you, but I can't because I've got to pay the bill, yeah?
You can hang up and I can continue my answer.
Yeah, I'm going to turn off the phone, but I'll listen to the radio.
Okay.
Bye.
Right, take care, bye. Right, as I was saying, yeah, you're correct in saying that it wasn't originally called Kemet, and so Sumeria predated Kemet rather than Egypt, so I'll correct myself on that. But Samaria was one of the cities that was set up by the Anunnaki when they landed here. And if you were listening to the earlier part of the show, I did explain how the Anunnaki actually set up 7 cities. The first 7 were northwest of the Arabian Sea, where they actually crashed, and the other 7 were actually set up in Iraq. Okay, and Sumer was one of those cities in Iraq that they set up, and there were a set of people that lived there, and they were the Sumerians, and they were taught by the Anunnaki, and the Anunnaki really revealed these tablets to them. And as I said, they have been excavated by scientists or geologists, and you can actually go and see these tablets in your museum if you want to. They're there for you to research. And don't be skeptical about information that we're telling you, we're teaching you about. Go and read the tablet so you can see for yourself what it's saying and research it. Don't just assume from what little information is revealed to you in the media or in newspapers. These places are not reliable sources, because they edit. There's something that you call propaganda, where they reveal what they want you to know and they conceal what they don't want you to know. So you should research what we're saying from the original source, and then do your research from there.
Okay, because it's a historical fact that Sumer was the first civilization, then Egypt after. And if you look at some of the architecture, it's similar, the stories are similar, but it started in Sumer. It's a fact. Okay, live link number 0705 0087426 gets you live right across the capital. Sorry, if I don't know. Go ahead, call you live on Genesis.
And that's me again, to be a pair, sorry. That's the one next question, yeah? Why if right, Sumeria is the first place, yeah? Why would you build a massive place like the pyramids, yeah? That's gonna stand out bigger than anything man made, yeah? You're gonna make it somewhere else, years later. Does that make sense?
Sorry, could you rephrase your question, because I don't understand what you're trying to say.
Hear me now. You said it starts from that same place there, Sumeria. Why would you improve another place far away?
What makes you think it's an improvement? What we're saying to you is that the Anunnaki set up these cities in both parts of the globe. They set up a place
One is
northwest.
made,
Let me finish
large,
so you can
yeah,
hear.
so that you ain't gonna forget it.
Sorry.
It's made large and big. You ain't gonna crumble. It's gonna stand there. You ain't gonna forget it.
That is part of their culture. That is part of their own science and their own abilities. They're the same people that set up those same cities. It's the same. It's just that Kusuma came before Kemet. That's the only thing. And the point is that these pyramids that you're referring to, they're made the size they are because our planet was actually set off of its axis by 23.5 degrees. And the Great Pyramid of Giza is actually placed central to the planet Earth, so it can balance and prevent the planet from wobbling excessively. And so they actually had a superior science to actually know where the center of the planet was. It was along a certain, you have lines of latitude and longitude around our planet. The Pyramid of Giza is set along one of those lines of latitude, so it's actually a central point for the magnetic grid around our planet. It's a very, very important device. It's not just a monument to look good and grand and make Egypt look great.
All right, remember one thing, majority of the pyramids on the face of the earth, right, are in Egypt, not in ancient Sumeria, or in Asia.
So I didn't catch you.
Majority of the pyramids on the earth, face of the earth, are in Africa. Right.
I'm sorry,
that is and the pyramids are made
that is a lie, I'm afraid.
for the constellations of the stars, yeah? They're not made. That place is the first place. If I came down from a planet, came down here, I'm going to represent the place that came down first and put everything to remind me. I'm not going to go to a different place and build up a big map of the stars.
What you have to remember, my friend, is that...
You know what I'm saying? That's not going to say, you've got it in a different location for a reason. I don't know what the reason is.
You're not making yourself very clear, okay?
Sorry?
You're not making yourself very clear about the location. The location is only there because of the function that the pyramid has to protect our planet.
Seems to me you feel that point to Asia, pointing towards Africa, but your system, your staff doesn't seem to want to aim it that way. And it's you're calling yourselves now, is it Moors?
Yeah, we are Moors.
That's a white man's given name to us.
How do you know? Oh,
and why is it your name keeps changing?
Okay, the word Moor is a Latin word, you're correct in saying that.
Like your leader is still learning. Why do your names keep changing? If he knows everything, he's supposed to pinpoint at one location, not keep on, he's growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, bro, one minute. You see, because you got this sentimental feeling about Africa, okay?
No, it's not that.
Listen, hold on, hold on, bro. Bro, yeah, 1 minute. You see, that's what you have to remember, that the Earth was once one landmass, so there was no Africa, America, this part, that, but it was one thing. You see, it depends how far you want to go back into your history to know. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to go before the continental drifts of pieces of land? Are you going to deal with it when it was together? Because if you had 1 foot on the part that was America and 1 foot on Africa, you would have split yourself in half.
Where the physical proof, right, of certain things standing out on Earth, right, is not standing from Asia.
Sumer is where Iraq was. Iraq is not in Asia. Iraq.
Well, them men call it East, was it Western Asia or something like that?
What I'm saying is, what we're saying is, you could go do your own research into this. Sumer was first.
I've done it.
Okay. What book did you read, bruv? Where did you get your information? Sorry, where did you get your information from, bruv? Where did you get your information from, bruv?
A lot of doctors, Dr. J.K. Hawkins.
Oh, these dunce people. Yeah, these people, they're dunce, man. I classify them as dunce. You talking about Dr. Bennett, Dr. Clark, and those idiots?
One another saying he's this and he's that.
No, I'm telling you. Listen, I've read them, brothers. Who you talking? Anthony Browder and all of them people there. No, listen. I know for myself because they're misleading the people. No, listen, I have no respect for them because they're misleading people. You understand? I have no respect for them. I don't want to have no respect for them. This is me personally saying it, Minsta Rebel, not the United Arab Emirates of the world. It's me. I'm saying that you'll be misled to think that Africa, which it was never called that means divided. Okay, this continent you call Africa that you are being sentimental about was all one thing.
Right. Tell you what, I want to say one thing. I'm just talking the phone.
Oh, you don't? Is that not true? Was the Earth one thing? Was it the land one thing? Do you agree with that?
Listen, put it this way, yeah? I probably agree with it, but at the end of the day, I ain't got a proof.
Okay, so you don't agree with that?
I don't know.
Well, go and look at a globe, and you can see a child will see it was fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. Okay, but all right. Well, let's jump over that then. Okay, go ahead. What is he gonna say?
I was saying, why would somebody come from outer space?
Yeah.
one place, get your stars, and go another place and make that place more wise and looking in it. And not only that.
What? No.
Represent.
That's in your. That is only in your opinion, bro.
Place, in a different area.
Listen,
if I came down, I do it in the same place now. I'm not going to go to like another part.
No. You see, your information is limited, bro, because you're saying about Egypt and pyramids. There's pyramids all over the world. There's pyramids in China. There's pyramids.
Majority of them.
The majority of them are not in Egypt. There are more pyramids in China than there are in Egypt. You're talking. Where you get? No.
Yeah, it might be large, a couple of large ones, but dotted around. Majority.
You see this? That's what I mean. These dance people that you're reading from are giving you false information. You're
come with that thing. Don't affect me.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the authors that you're talking. You're getting your information from and coming with your opinion. They're not here for you. They're not here for you. They're here for profit and money and miseducating people. If you do your own research for your own self, have you got the internet? Are you hooked up with the internet?
No, man.
Okay, go to one of the cyber cafes. So just go Encyclopedia Britannica or one of them. Sorry?
Come on, because I paid the bill,
yeah? Yeah, okay, that's all right. You know, if you got the if you're on the internet, you know, you got different encyclopedias. Punch in Sumer and Egypt, and you'll see for yourself. It's I hate to hear my people being misled by these. That's why I have no respect for these dance people. You understand? That need to sit down in one of the classes. They can't even do with one of the students of the master teacher, my sister master teacher. These people are backward people with limited information, okay? I think the Rasta brothers had it half right when they said the half that hasn't been told. There was much more than half, and it is being told now. Do not get hooked up in this Africa thing. The earth was once one landmass, and you can jump over it if you like, but you know, you can look on a globe or an atlas or do some scientific research for yourself, and you'll come to that conclusion. Also, originally, there was 900 Anunnaki sent down, 300 stayed up, 300 set up Sumer, 300 set up Egypt, but Sumer was set up first. Take it or leave it alone. 0705 0087 426. Anything you would like to add to that? Okay. That's 0705 0087 426. Okay, that gets you live on the Gen 1, alright? Or if you don't want to go live, we can talk on 0374 231 658. That's 0374 231 658. Okay? Remember, it's not about your opinions. Your opinion means nothing in reality unless it's truth. Okay? If not, it's just your opinion. Alright, remember the live link is 0705 0087 426. Remember, you can catch me back in the house. I'll be playing Text by the Master Teacher. It's coming Friday afternoon between the hours of 12 and 2. Alright? Remember, if you're going to phone the show, you know, and like debate, let's debate with facts and not opinion. And, you know, especially from these backward people, you know, they read that, you know, let's do it sensibly, point for point, and, you know, it's not a problem. And, you know, don't get, you know, emotional attachments to bits of land doesn't mean nothing. Okay? You know, because that don't mean nothing to nobody, you know, because the earth is the earth, no matter where you are. Okay, and the pyramids all across America, South America, all over the world. More pyramids in China than there are in Egypt. You know what I'm saying to you? And I'm saying it. Prove it wrong then. 0705 0087 426. Remember, if you do not know, don't presume upon yourself and you've done no research or you've read one person's book. Like I read the New World Order by Adam Weishaupt. You think you know everything because you've read this one book. No. Do some, I've read the ISIS papers, or you know, these books. Look, do some more, because you know them books. I read the Two Babylons. Wow. Or the Browder Files. I listened to Dr. Ben. You know, he said nothing, man. You know, because these black egotistical leaders are just there to mislead you, and they're not there for your soul. The Master Teacher is here for us. Okay, preparing the way for the one to come at the end, Tammuz. Okay. All right. Okay. Before I leave, I'm going to give out the other question and answer classes that I missed out. All right. Let's relax and listen to the music while I get my information. Okay, we're going to take this live link. Go ahead, caller, you're live on Genesis.
first of all, we didn't say that our information is exclusive to any race. As we said, everybody is entitled to the facts. Okay, everyone, has been, kept away from a lot of factual information, and so our books are publicly available. Our bookshops do not have any sort of signs over the door saying that no Asians can come in here or no Caucasians can come in here. The information is open, and our doors are open for everyone to know the facts, because everyone has that right. Okay. Now, what Minsta Rebel was explaining about the planet Earth and how all the continents were part of one landmass means that we are indigenous to the entire planet. We're not just indigenous to one little section of the Earth. We are the Morotopithecines. We are the original evolutionary people that originated on this planet, and all land masses that you find on the face of the planet, the indigenous people are people of color. They are Nubian people, and so we are the original inhabitants of every single piece of this planet Earth, that you see. Okay, and you can research this. You can go to South America and see the statues of the Olmecs that were the original people that dwelled on the planet, and when the landmass split, they were actually left there in South America. You'll actually see their features on those statues as being very obviously Nubian features. They've got the thick lips, the broad noses, the large eyes. And you can even look at their civilization and see that there's a lot of similarity between their civilization and the ancient Egyptians. So there's no doubt that we're indigenous to the whole planet. It's not just the so-called continent of Africa or Nubia.
Okay, and I hope that answers your question. All right, that's it for tonight. Okay, remember when you're going to phone my show, do some research first, and don't come with no backwards nonsense, because I'm not having it. Because you're just misleading the people continually, and it's got to stop. Like these stupid artists that are putting out music now, singing about Selassie being the Most High and Melchizedek and Emmanuel. Look, them things are some backward nigger mentality that's got to end. Alright, when is it going to end? Somebody's got to tell you people, because you've got some big egos and think that you're big and bad and can put information over and nobody can't tell you nothing. And speak to your women, they'll tell you the same thing. Ask them to be honest. And they'll tell you, but you must give them a right hand or something, innit? Alright, I'm out of here. For further inquiries into what you're listening to, you can call me on 0374 231 658. I'm going to let the doctor say goodbye to you all.
I'd like to say peace to all the listeners of Genesis FM. Look after each other, be positive, and search for information in the right place. The United Nuwaubian Nation of Moors. Our bookshops are open for you to go in, read the books, ask the members questions, and do your own research. Because the time is now for the transition for you to become, come into our own. There's no more time, no more room for lies, no more room for misinformation. Okay, so that's all I'd like to say. Good night.
Okay. For further comments and suggestions on the True Light Show, you can email me on wrwec@westminster.ac.uk. That's wrwec@westminster.ac.uk, or alternatively JHU7764861. That's JHU7764861. Egypt is the first civilization, huh? Come on, bruv, man. Come on. And in Africa. What Africa? The earth is the earth, man. Come on. Time to wake up. Oi! Wake up. No more time for that. You see, that's the nonsense they're putting on the records. Africa and all the way. Look, we are from the earth. The earth was once one landmass. The whole of it is ours. Hello? Time to wake up. Leave it in the capable hands of DJ B. Remember the telephone number if you'd like to talk to me off. I'll be in the studio for another 5 or 10 minutes or so. 0374 231 658. That's 0374 231 658. Remember, one book by one of these dance authors, and they're dance. You tell them to phone them. Tell them to phone up then. Get them to phone up. You'll see. You'll see for themselves. They ain't got nothing. They ain't got no juice. Any one of those dumb authors, you tell them to phone up. If you know them, tell them to phone up. or the so-called wise, or the righteous or right people on the earth that are outside of this, you tell them to phone up. Minsta Rebel, I'm out of here saying peace. Okay, we're live in the studio still, alright, but the live links, we're not live, but you can still phone in because my phone's popping and the doctor's still in the house. We'll be in here for another 10 minutes or so. Alternatively, you can call me on 0374 231 6458 or 0705 00 87426 in the studio for 5 or 10 minutes. Minsta Rebel, I'm out of here. Peace. Hip hop, DJB.